I'd like to open the December, 16th meeting? 18th meeting at 7:30 with the Conservation Commission. And I guess entertain approval of the minutes for the December 4th meeting. Anybody get omissions or corrections?
I only had one little one, which is just a grammatical on page 2, which I'll submit, so.
I had a few just editorial things, but
Yeah.
then one thing on page 2, 119 Russell Street, when it says there was a discussion over the number of trees being removed, I thought it was particularly one area, that we aren't really disputing the number that they're removing for the vista, but it was the northeast portion. I think it's northeast that I was trying to figure out which area that is. But anyway, it would be helpful to put where we were disputing, and they'll double check that they'll need to come down.
Yeah, you're right, those are the red maples there.
Or you could even just
Yeah.
talk that they're on the bank.
Yeah,
If it- then you don't-
or a portion of the bank,
Yeah, in between the
Park-
parking and the bank.
yeah.
Right, that's-
Yeah, that would be good, parking in the bank, yeah.
That's
yeah.
specific enough, northeast.
And the rest, I think, that's, well, there was one thing in that same section, they said they were asked to clean up the rubbish along the road, and it says common near the wetland. Do you mean the rubbish near the wetland, or is it a different section?
Yeah, it's
Along
right,
the road
it's right by
and
where
near
the
wetland?
path is, that they just put in the sidewalk,
Oh, okay,
at the front, as you're entering on the right.
okay, all right. So,
Move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Is there a second?
a couple of
second.
other edits there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, under administrative discussions, we've got Turkey Farm new owners discussion. I guess,
So this is for lot 10. Do you want to come up? So if you like, just go ahead, grab a seat, and then twirl that mic around and introduce yourself. So we brought up a plan for you. So if you want to just kind of introduce yourself, that would be great.
Okay, my name is Jordi Font. We moved here in Little Tony by the end of June this year. We bought the house that is in 8 Fraser Street, lot 10.
Perfect. So welcome. You're the first owner to come in. So what we like to do, because there are some open space, but there's also some wetlands there. So we always want to let you understand a little bit about the wetlands and what you can do as well. So I'll let the commission kind of share their thoughts with you, but we appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us.
And which lot is it?
So, yep. So it is lot 10 right here.
Uh-huh. Near that basin.
Yep. Exactly. Amy, where would be the proposed pipe that was coming through? That's a lot 11?
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll come back to that, but, so basically where your house is, if there's any additional work that you want to do in the yard or structures, things like that, then you'd always want to come in to the commission, just informally. You don't have to
do a
do a filing or anything in the beginning. So we just want to make sure that everyone's on the same path, because you are in an area that's protected.
Okay, but for example, if I want to finish the basement, do I need to come here?
So that's the building department. So as long as nothing's changing outside the house. So if you were to change the grading or the landscaping, things like that, then we would ask for you to come in.
And that means major landscaping, right? Not, you can mow where it's
And you can
already
put
mown.
plant things
Plant,
as
yeah.
well. Yep.
Things, yeah.
Yep.
So it's only if you're,
So if I want to install a swimming pool, I need to come here.
Correct.
or put in a wall, like a stone wall, or, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Do you want to talk a little bit about Wetlands Protection Act and area as well, so he knows that in terms of area?
As an area?
Well, in terms
When you see
of,
the buffer zone,
Yep.
which is on there.
do you know what a buffer zone is? From where your wetlands are, and then the no work area as
Well,
well?
we have like posts that
Yeah,
we
the-
cannot go over that.
These are the posts back here,
Yeah.
so that, there's no mowing beyond there.
Yeah.
But you can, obviously mow landscape up there. But the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction is 100 feet from the wetland, which is actually a line out here. So this is the limit of these guys' jurisdiction.
Okay.
So, you know. if you
So,
wanted
which
to
is
put a-
basically the whole house.
Yeah, if you want to put a shed up here, they have no jurisdiction. If you want to put a shed back here, you come talk to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you might see, especially in spring or different times, that this will hold water, or you'll see a lot more, your backyard might be wet or just have a little vegetation as well. We
Yes,
always,
We don't want grass clippings thrown in there, raked leaves, we don't want thrown in there.
Yeah, no. with the-
There's no
with the-
trees.
Yeah, no.
They blow.
but you can certainly plant things, we'd love to see pollinators, things that any of the birds or any of the habitat can help with as well.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so we're just requesting that any of the new owners come in and just have kind of a face-to-face, know where we are, and,
Now, I'm wondering though, since this was, at least this part of the project was prior to our regs, correct? Isn't it quite
Building of it
prior-
was,
the
but now
building
it's
of-
subject.
yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering, okay,
Yeah,
so.
so
if
now
you
it now falls
apply-
under the new regs.
Yeah, so
Yep.
any permit that you apply for from now on will be subject to our new regs, so we have a 50-foot no disturb, so there's much more stringent requirements in the 50-foot
So meaning from like
area.
these flags, the 50 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. But anytime, if you have any questions, just come on and see
Okay.
Amy as well.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions we can answer for you now? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. We appreciate you coming in.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Have a good holiday.
And get to the rest of it. Are you folks all from Durkee?
No,
No.
this is
Okay.
only one so far.
I'll give you that back. Oh, and that goes, Amy. That's the other one.
Howell Ave, Black Maple Conservation Restriction.
Is that still on hold?
No, this is the conservation restriction, so, I think Glenn will be here eventually, but, actually, he should be here now, but,
Do you want to come back to it?
I'd like to kind of, well, it's gonna take probably, I bet, 15 minutes, but that's gonna be Glenn's part of it too, so,
I think it might be best to come back then. So
all
we're
right,
not stopping
The only thing I'd
starting.
say is,
You guys are here.
this guy's probably here, and I couldn't get hold of all the owners where I thought there might be issues, but we had talked a while ago about his shed, so I just let him
Okay.
know I was gonna at least bring this up tonight, and nothing was gonna get resolved, but if you wanted to be here.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. If you're here, let's go ahead and.
Yeah, so
You wanna
this
come up?
one,
Would you like to come up? Yep.
can you see my cursor up there, over on the map there? So, this is point 8, the parking lot, Hartwell parking lot is up here. So point 8 is that flag out there. So you can see it, so it turns behind the shed this way, and I'm standing on this line right now. So the shed and the gravel and everything is in the conservation restriction area. So that's one of them.
Is
So.
that where the X is right there? Is that the shed?
No, the X is nothing.
Okay.
It has no meaning. Those are field notes all over the place.
Okay.
So that's just one example of where the conservation restriction area has been encroached upon. So, I'm sorry, I forget your name, Jerry?
Jerry.
Yeah, he'd come in, what, maybe a year or so ago?
No, it was during the summer.
Was it just this summer?
It was
Yeah.
this summer because we basically, that stake's just been put in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
On the lot map that I have, I tried to measure it out, but I obviously didn't do a good job. I thought I figured out where I would be. I think we said like 50 feet away was.
Right,
okay,
your
100
setback,
feet.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because I remember that website that you showed me that had like the wetlands actually on it.
Yep.
And tried to mark that out and do like 50 feet from it.
Yeah, because those aren't necessarily accurate, the GIS maps.
Right,
So,
yeah,
you know, we had
yeah.
the discussion, and when we had the discussion, I didn't realize there was a conservation restriction on this
Right,
property.
yeah.
So we were talking strictly
Right.
wetlands.
So, and just so you understand, the reason that, so this, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was in contact with the commission slash, is it Mr. Burton, is it?
He's a town
Board of
manager.
Selectmen,
Yep.
maybe?
Right, I'm not really sure, I
Yeah.
can't remember, and I could dig out all the communication. There's a drainage pipe, which you can't see, that comes under the
Yeah.
road, under our property.
Mhm.
Now, on the lot map, it says drainage easement, but our attorney at the time, no one could find the
Okay.
instrument.
Okay, and it's not on your deed?
It's not on the deed, and the
Okay.
town said.
But your
"We're not-"
your conservation restriction is on your deed?
Yes.
correct, yeah, okay.
So the town said that's got nothing to do with us. So basically, we had a choice. We could either lock up the pipe, we didn't want to do that, back up. The Lake Charlotte Hartwell's probably the other side of the
Yep.
street. But that's why there's a lot of gravel. I'm raising that up.
Okay,
Because basically, whenever there's snow melt or a lot of rain, we basically just get a pond in our backyard.
Yeah, because that's a common driveway back there, right?
We have a driveway easement.
Yeah, that comes in.
That's all legit. We've
Comes
got
in through
protection.
here, yeah.
Yep.
But there just doesn't seem to be any record of the drainage easement.
I think it comes, it's something the highway department did years ago.
It's a private road, so I think it's not a town, potentially not a town thing.
The drainage goes under Hartwell Avenue. So-
That far
So
out.
there's-
Yeah, it used to flood on the other side with a pond.
it was there when the development went in.
Yeah.
It's been there, because I remember it being there when the development went in.
The highway department's probably who you want to talk to.
Well, that's who came out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they,
I
yeah,
can't remember his name. He's,
Jim Clyde.
Yeah, so he came out and
I think it's
inspected it.
before Jim Clyde.
Yeah, no, I
with
mean, he
Foster.
came
Jim
out.
Clyde came out and
Yeah.
inspected it, and then I think
We all went out and walked that.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but it's probably
Yeah.
when they redid
Okay.
Hartwell Ave.
So, what we need to talk about is rectifying, and we have others that have encroached as well?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, when I first saw that, I was like, but then when I saw the next one, this is nothing.
Okay.
So, yeah, we had the discussions early this summer, and, I had said, if it's 50 feet away from the wetland and in the lawn, then it's
Right.
exempt. But this was back in the tree line, and the conservation restriction is an issue too. So, I don't
And
expect
that's
anything
why
to be resolved or discussed tonight,
Yep.
but I just wanted everyone to kind of know what was going on.
Okay.
Initially, it was supposed to have been posted, that it was a endangered species.
yeah, because I think it was Glenn King that was posted about 2 weeks ago.
Right, yeah.
10 years ago when we moved in.
What is supposed to have been done when he broke the lots off
Right.
at that point in time.
Okay. Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming in, so it's something we'll have to take into consideration, how to proceed with everyone, for sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And I assume we're going to skip over the request for a certificate of compliance?
Well, so let me just show you the rest of these. This is 51 Hartwell, which you can see my cursor is down here. So I'm looking from lot .5 back to a 6 and 7. So this is .5 right here that Glenn had staked, and 5 and 6 and 7 are out in the woods there. So everything on the left, like the pool, is outside the conservation restriction. Everything on the right is in the conservation restriction. So this is huge. It's the sand volleyball court, the play structure, there's, lawn, a fire pit.
So is this all a result of Glenn not marking?
Correct.
Yes.
The
Well,
conservation restriction area when it's
I also
supposed
think
to?
the owners should know. They have
Right,
a
it's on
conservation-
your deed.
It's on your deed.
Right,
It's on your deed.
But
So-
if you see a marker in your backyard, it would
Right.
go
I think
along
it's,
with it.
yeah, there's, okay.
So there's that one, and then, this is Phil Peterino's lot. This is the stake right there where the CR is. And actually, this one should be at the property line. So I don't know what the erosion controls are doing way back there, and you can see that the erosion is way out there.
So
So,
erosion controls for,
for Phil's house,
Construction.
yeah, he's doing, this is, again, the parking lot for Peterino, for Hartwell's here. But this was the most recent house that Phil Peterino came in. So that was, I think, lot number 7. They started with a 6, so this would have been 7, and then the new one, 73 Hartwell, would be number 8. So, of course, now this is all under snow. But I
Well, it
let,
still needs, I mean, the erosion control still needs to be.
I let Phil know
maintained,
we
so.
got some issues out there. Phil does not want them on his property installing the posts. So again, so that is where the post should be.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily an issue to offset it by 3 feet.
What do you mean?
If he doesn't want the posts there for some reason, if he doesn't want them on his property to dig the post, then he can offset it, so no one's on his property. Because the conservation restriction is on private property. So,
But if we hold that conservation restriction, we're allowed to, I
That's
would think,
natural.
we have the
heritage.
right for access.
access.
So, it's just,
So how can
it's
you
a timing
restrict
issue as
us?
much as anything, as anything. So this might be something worth discussing with Glenn
Okay,
whenever he gets here.
yeah, okay.
And then the last one is at the very top end of things, way over here. This is what, 85B Hartwell. You can see there's a post way out there in the middle of his grade. I'm not quite clear. There had been grading out there. I'm not sure where this is on the property line things. The owner came out and said he doesn't like the post there. I said, that's fine, come in the Conservation Commission, they might be happy with a pin. But first you have to decide whether or not, what's going on out there also. So
Okay.
we might be hearing from him about removing that post, which is, Glenn put it up, they can take it down. Okay, so that's, I just want to run those through.
Well, I can take this one step further. I can remember when we were discussing this, because I kind of threw out, you needed some before rows or a fence along there at the time, so people would know they weren't supposed to be going beyond that. And I remember we having a discussion about that, and assumed it was gonna get done.
So I'm in the process of trying to write all this up, and I'm doing it
Yeah.
property by property.
Yeah,
And
sounds
so I can have a recording, instead of the natural heritage, I gave them a heads up, and I sent them a picture of the volleyball court, and I haven't heard anything back from them.
Yeah, okay.
Because they are part of the CR.
Right.
also.
So let's put that on a discussion for the January 8th.
Yeah.
And also, do you want to put on a discussion for January 8th, the training that we did? And kind of generally
All right, do you wanna
update
go
the
for it?
commission about that?
We need to go
Yeah. Yep.
possible enforcement issue at
Oh,
65
and I'm sorry,
Hartwell.
just one more, for 85A, I assume, do you not want to release that until, the posts are up, he just needs the signs?
We're not releasing those tonight.
Okay, then there's the potential for the enforcement orders. 65 Hartwell, which is Phil Peterino's, I think potentially could need an enforcement order, that's certainly in the buffer zone. And then 51 and 53, I'm not clear where the buffer zones are
Okay.
on those things.
All right, let's come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we jump over to 204-825, 18 Boxborough Road, request for certificate of compliance.
That was sort of the one kind of near Joyce Williams' property, and it was all set to go, but he hadn't taken the erosion controls out. He's taken them out.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So I think it's all set to go.
Okay.
So we need a motion to request to issue a certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion that the commission issue a certificate of compliance for 18 Boxborough Road, 204-825.
I'll second that.
All those in
Let's see.
favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
And go on to 15 Great Road site walk.
Great Road sidewalk. So, would anyone like to do a sidewalk? And I can explain it on the site, because I don't know what's going
I can do it.
Okay.
I know
But
it.
I think I want to get Mark Gallagher, I want to get the Omni people, want
Think
to
some
get
other
out there.
people should come on that.
They want their,
It was.
They want their
fun
final
the last
certificates of
time. It was
occupancy.
fun the last time.
they all have cross easements over everything, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
We'll just,
I'll coordinate with you, Sarah.
Oak
wanna
Hill
try and get it
reimbursement.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just a reminder to me to get Anna to sign that. Oh. There's a couple things.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, something different.
Oh, pretzels. Oh, good. I
That's
don't have
Andrew.
sugar.
We noticed.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe she goes flying off.
What's the Oak Hill reimbursement?
That should have been on it.
That's
A
another-
reminder. She just needs to sign some bills.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Public Land Preservation Act, PLPA support.
I didn't know if you all, anybody was interested in having the Conservation Commission send a letter of support to the Senate or whoever the heck they are asking for. I think I sent that around. Now, what did I do with it?
I've never heard of
This
it,
is
but
like state, the state
It's
regs?
basically making the Article 97 lands and the transference of Article 97 lands out of there a more reliable process with specific guidelines and requirements. Most of the CONCOM stuff is signed off, so I don't know if
Right,
you'd
interesting.
want to send a.
I don't think it hurts. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not totally familiar with it, but it seems like a pretty
Okay.
good thing to get the Article 97 stuff squared away.
So you
So we
want
made a letter, we need to issue a letter of support? Or just say?
You have to guide
Yeah,
Amy
it
to,
clarifies the existing policy into law, clear description of baseline information, requirement for recording, process through CONCOMs, land proposals, public hearings, waivers if applicable, so it.
just trying to make it a little bit more transparent as well. I think it
does
would be nice.
somebody want to make a motion that we send a memo or a letter into this?
I'll make a motion that the commission supports the Public Lands Preservation Act by issuing a letter of support.
Do I hear a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll say the audience can help.
Bylaw regulatory review.
Keep that down the road.
We did a little bit before the meeting.
6 Cottage Way appeal update. That's getting
So,
interesting.
The dates are all over the place, but what's happening right now is under DEP appeal, the presiding officer has proposed some dates. If Jim or I, or maybe even Ann, if she's in the same building, can go, great, but nobody has to.
What would those dates be? Like what month?
We have, right now, January 16th, 22nd, or 26th.
Oh, yeah, you said it was the
And that's-
22nd of December, but it was moved.
January.
So that would be for the pre-screening conference.
Oh.
Are you in that office at all?
I actually work in Worcester, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Wait, so
Is
the
that-
pre-screening conference was December 22nd. Is that rescheduled to a different time
The
than what you
pre-screening
just said?
conference, everyone's all over the board, so the presiding officer was getting a little pissy about it and said, you guys figure it out and then tell me when it is. So he threw out the 3 dates of January 16th at 10, January 19th at 10, January 22nd at 2, or the 26th at 10.
Is that-
I can forward you all this.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to attend?
I basically have been telling Rebecca, if I can make it, I will go. If I can't, don't cancel it for me, because it depends on what happens.
All right, well, let's just wait to see what comes back with the dates, and maybe if Anna could, if you happen to be there that day or something.
Then there will be scheduling for the pre-hearing statements, which she initially thought, Jim, that there wasn't any time to bring it to the CONCOM, but she said that's not going to be the case, so you won't need to react to something immediately. And then there should be a settlement conference call,
Okay,
but that hasn't been scheduled yet.
okay.
And I've got a note here after this. What is that?
Jones Field,
Joan?
Oh, the Jones Field, yeah.
right of first refusal?
Andrew, you want to speak to
Well, I
that
mentioned
one?
that's probably going to happen at the end, so I don't know if you wanted to just take it, or you really want to wait till the end.
I think the selectmen are actually going to be discussing it at 8:15, so maybe we should do it later.
Yep.
Just-
So I'm gonna head downstairs
Yeah.
to that meeting now, so we'd love to
That's-
kind of know what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
About
if there's
term-
any information, other than,
So as of right now, I really haven't heard anything since the last selectmen meeting, but tonight I guess they're going to be further discussing the first right of refusal for the property. So, yeah, we won't really have any new information until after their meeting.
Okay. So we're not tasked to do anything? Okay.
So do you all have a position about sort of the status and what you're thinking and what there are, is there a possibility for conservation to be able to acquire the property, or are there entities? And we're trying to understand as residents as well,
Sure.
how this is going to impact and
Yep.
what this could mean to the neighborhood and
Right.
and how extensively it could be affected.
I believe the Conservation Commission sent a letter of support to the selectmen as far as keeping it in agriculture.
Yeah.
I don't know about the funding or anything, but I do know that that's...
So we support the process of not
Keeping-
build- not build- of,
and I attended the Agricultural Commission and their last, and they were well in support of that too, so
Right.
thank you.
I-
yeah.
I gather from having talked with my son, who's a chairman of that, is that you're looking for financial support somehow as to where you're going to get the financial.
That's the big question right now, because
Yeah, in terms of the town acquiring it,
Sure.
what the disposition of that land is.
Is there the ability for the town, if they decided to exercise or to assign their right, for, I don't know how to say this correctly, like to sort of bundle money from different entities for conservation? So if you had, you know, an amount from conservation,
Right.
an amount from AgCom, an amount from even private folks who, like, is there a way to do that, or does it have to come from one single source, or?
I think it can be done with multiple sources.
Yep, you can
It
even
just
apply
gets
for
more
grants as well.
complicated, but it's.
Yep,
can
and the
be done.
timing of trying to put them parallel together. Yep, but no, you can use multiple sources.
in terms of like private homeowners donating, I don't know if
I
you
don't think you can
can
do that.
directly do that.
You'd have to give to a nonprofit that might be part of that giving.
The selectmen could,
TPL or something.
Yeah, reassign their first right of refusal to a nonprofit like a land trust, and then they could kind of work with neighbors or whoever with donations. But the selectmen really can't take private donations like that, I don't think.
Right, no.
But yes.
Okay. So it sounds like the next meeting, that's at 8:15? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, we're all running down there now.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yep, good luck. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we're at 7:50.
Yep.
Continued
I only have a
public
pencil.
hearing, notice of intent, 73 Hartwell Ave, R-17-57 MA Mass DEP 204-859, construction of a single-family home.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I think we're talking about where we put in stakes and posts to mark the conservation restriction. Printed up some plans for everybody.
So I'm not sure if you saw or passed, cross paths on the way here, but some of the landowners were in, based on where the proximity of some of the stakes and markers on their property.
Is everyone ready tonight?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I thought it was a
Yep.
Oh,
That was a discussion for those particular people because there are some encroachments that we have to,
Yeah, so I put on
work
the
with.
plan here in
Yep.
red, stakes.
Yep, and Amy's been working on that.
Okay, so.
Have you
those-
seen, you have this one?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay, so those stakes are
Mhm.
there,
yep.
but the posts are not where the red locations are. Okay,
Mhm.
the blue ones are in. So.
Yes, we agreed in the field not to put the posts in the middle of someone's lawn just yet.
Right.
Because we gotta work through it.
So how many are not installed?
5.
5, okay.
Wait, number 12, though, is not in the middle of somebody's lawn.
Well,
That's Phil Pellegrino's.
yeah, so I took.
Oh, that's
to
the
work on.
grading right there? that-
Yeah.
So Amy
oh,
has
okay.
those photographs. We
Amy has
we
those
we saw
photographs.
those, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, just the discussion, I'd like to get the opinion of the committee. If I could refer back to conservation and management permit. There's areas of, there's a section that's called special conditions, and there's 4 or 5 or 6 items listed special conditions. Number 11 here, and I'm sorry I didn't copy that for everybody. So if I could read it. It says, "The parcel containing conservation restrictions shall be monumented with permanent markers on the corners, property lines to delineate the boundary of the restricted areas. Such markers shall be installed prior to the initiation of any land clearing or work." And this is
When was that dated?
the original one.
When was-
2005.
2005. Okay, so Black Maple Development didn't do any work, just sold the lots. And everybody who bought had this. So in our hearings had this paperwork, because it's recorded, came with their properties. So it goes on to say that whoever is in charge, whatever contractor, builder, whoever is in charge of the project of building the house, needs to notify Natural Heritage, put in silt fence,
You're supposed to put them
and
You're supposed to put them
follow the rest of the process.
You're supposed to put them
So, my read on that is that it wasn't the responsibility of Black Maple Development to put the posts in. But we had our hearing, time went by, we, just did it with this lot. So, the posts are in. We'll be happy to, as soon as we understand what the signage is, we don't have any information on what sign we want.
So, but you reached out to Natural Heritage and asked them what
Here's
they
a
would,
copy if you want.
Yeah, what
what
they
they
wanted
would-
us to put,
and what's been their response?
wood post or granite post.
No, on the sign.
No answer yet.
I've gone back and forth with them, I don't think they care.
Okay. What section was that, Glenn?
11,
What page?
12.
So we can use what we did
I've got
at.
the document
It's the
here.
third page. Number 11? One back,
Second
yeah.
page. Okay.
There it is, 11, 12. So anyway, it's not important that, anymore, that, we took on the responsibility to put them in. Not a problem. With the 3 that are yet to be determined how you're going to handle, where the posts go and so forth, we'll put those in when you figure out what you want to do. That's not a problem. For 12 and 13, that's the neighbor to our lot. Doesn't want us on the property without indemnification, lots of legal work, and so forth. So when we were out in the field, we talked about an offset to the posts, location that's on the plans, a foot or 2 feet down the restriction line, so we didn't have to go on this property.
Right, and that discussion would take place within the commission here. So I think if there is a discussion of an offset, the landowner would need to come in, and that's one of the discussions that we will be having.
Because I did,
I thought
after
that's
after we met in the field, we walked the whole thing with Ted, and they mentioned that Phil didn't want him on the property, wanted indemnifications and
Mhm.
all sorts of stuff, so
Right.
I called Phil just to see if maybe he'd be willing, he's like, no. So,
Right.
it'll be fine.
But why
And
would
said,
they-
oh, by the way, you've got a erosion control issue out here.
Right.
Why would they even be able to ask that if we have access through the conservation restriction itself?
We don't necessarily have the right to install a post, we have right to access to inspect, but not
So-
necessarily to.
Yeah, so it's a 4x4 post.
But if it's
And it's
required under
supposed
the
to be,
CR.
it's supposed to be, right at the intersection. So the middle, half of the post is on his property. There'd be, a square foot of material disturbed. He doesn't want us on the property. He doesn't want the project. He doesn't want us on the property. So, I'm not, he can, according to this, he can put in the post, he should have put in the post before he moved any material. He should have put in the post.
I'm not so sure about that one.
Okay, but, even so, I'd like to get in number 13, because it involves, mine. And I'll put them in when you tell me to put them in, but that's the discussion.
It's been a highly irregular case, dating back, as we all know, historically, so I think it's unfortunate. My understanding of this development was that the onus was on the applicant, and also, which would have been yourself at the time, to do the install of these, the signage, so.
And I can remember having discussion with people that came in and asked us about the lots and telling them they couldn't change the configuration of the houses and that they had this boundary that they had to adhere to.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember that discussion also. I'm a little bit troubled by the language from Heritage, though. because I'm wondering if that language is still coming in to this day, because we've asked other developers to put the posts in.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's,
and
and I,
they could
that,
have the same argument that Glenn has, that they were pushing, they stopped pushing any.
but then you have the
dirt.
obligation of who is the witness of the install to verify that it was done. That comes back to the Conservation Commission to acknowledge that that work has been done. So
Yeah.
they're certainly not going to go out, and I don't think that they have the time or manpower to go out to visually install everything in the state, do they?
I mean, I guess this is an unusual case where the person who established the CR and everything isn't the person who's actually developing the property.
Correct.
Whereas in other cases, it's.
That we've had the
developer
CR, we've worked with the
also-
developer.
Yes.
And that's been
also
part
establishes
of
the
the
CR.
conditions that it has to be
So
done.
this is a little different.
Yeah.
Um, But it would seem like it'd be logical to have, you know, prior to the developers moving in, or having the posts already in.
Would have saved a lot of hassle if they'd been put up.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
People would have known.
Right, so, okay, so,
Only if they were obvious, otherwise they'd still be pushing. I mean, it's gotta be, before we were talking about like these short posts, now we're actually talking about signs.
right.
So it's a little.
Well, I'm thinking of Durkee. I mean, they've pretty much put the posts and put the signage.
Well, we did the same thing with 15 Great.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Right.
we've
So-
been diligent to make sure
Oh, yeah,
that there's
no,
installs.
I
so-
agree.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's another comment here. To ensure that the unauthorized work does not occur within the restriction, in bold, prior to the start of construction, the permit holder, my presumption is the builder, holder shall delineate the conservation restriction boundary with silt fence, snow fencing, that goes on.
Do they mean the
So-
permit holder of the NOI?
Yeah,
the
but
wetland permit
who
holder?
applied for it to begin with? It
Yeah.
was you.
And you got the
So you
permit.
had it and you were transferring it, but you had it to start with. So it was your responsibility to put the posts in,
The holder of the well.
initial permit, even though he transferred it.
Well, it could be either,
Okay.
either.
So
Don't-
I think that,
It makes more
It's
sense.
We need to get it straight now, move on.
Yeah.
yeah,
What are you gonna do with the stuff that's already been
Well,
put there?
that's not a discussion right
Yeah.
now, so
Right.
that's, Mr. Berger's here for his, okay. So I believe, just to circle back around, that was the last requirement, I believe, that we had put forth on Glenn, is that correct?
Yeah, Natural Heritage also pointed out you need to do turtle monitoring during construction, which Ted has already sent down to Natural Heritage, so that's something for the future.
Now, is that based on seasonality and timing, and would that restrict when he breaks ground?
it mentions in
I think there's
here,
a time
if you're
restriction.
building between the turtle season,
Okay.
then you monitor. If you're
Okay.
not building, then.
Okay. And what is your intention in terms of building?
I'm gonna sell the lot.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
I can get it right this time. for you.
Okay.
So my big question is, I'll put in the post when whatever issues are up there are resolved. I'd like to discuss an offset for post 13, so I don't have to be on Mr. Pittarino's property.
Well, Mr. Pittarino is obligated to acknowledge with a stake, so the stake will probably go in.
He's gonna
The
have
stake
to
is
put it
in.
on.
Yeah, he's-
The stakes
Stakes are in.
Right.
It's
Well,
just
he's
the
going to
post.
have some type of monument or something.
And he should know he's not allowed to mess with the survey stake.
Yeah,
It's
so,
on his property.
so,
I'm thinking the note saying,
Yeah.
we're not gonna put them in, but don't move the stakes.
right, okay.
So what does,
So do you want to agree to an offset on 13?
No.
I did
think
also
we
check
need
with
it.
SVT, but,
Yeah, I don't think you have to offset it.
No.
so whose responsibility is it going to be to put that in?
Well, it's on Mr. Pittarino's deed,
Pittarino.
so it will now be Mr. Pittarino's on his.
Although theoretically,
It's on mine
the new
also.
owner of 73 Hartwell can say, not on my property or not. So it's still on the corner of two parcels. I personally don't think an offset's a big deal. I checked with SVT when we had
Well, I
the
think
training. They said, you know, it happens, if you got a big rock, you gotta offset it.
Right, but we're offsetting on a lawn.
Well, not
Not on yours. I'm talking about-
13 is in the woods. Oh, I'm not talking about the other ones.
Okay, I thought we were referring
No,
to
no, no.
Pittarino's. Okay.
Well, it's Pittarino has 2.
Mhm. Oh, okay.
What-
And so you are requesting an offset.
Yes, just for 13,
And why are you requesting an offset?
in order to be complete on terms of what happens with 73 Hartwell. Mr. Pittarino, I suppose, will have to put in number 12 when he goes, you know, he was supposed to do that, it was supposed to be in, but he'll have to do that in order to sign off on everything. It'll have to be installed by somebody. Yeah, the post is there on the ground, not on his property adjacent. And so are the others, in the woods, you know, just out of the way.
Okay, it seems like we've kind of come to a stalemate as to what the wording should be on
I think
this.
if it's offset, it needs to be bigger and more obvious, because the person at least
It'll be-
should know immediately that that's not the actual line.
I think my only concern with offsets is future owners.
These are straight line of sight, so.
But they won't be straight if they're offset.
It'll be offset along the CR line.
Oh, you mean it won't be back from the CR line, it will just be
It'll be
further
along
along?
the CR line. So it's entirely on
Along the line.
73 Hartwell.
Oh,
This one would have to come off
okay.
because the CR
So
is there.
13 will still be on the line, but just be on somebody else's property instead of his? I wouldn't mind that.
Okay.
So, it's close.
Okay.
Close to what she thinks.
So language,
So, excuse me, we can be, you know, within 2 feet of it. You know, we disturb very little.
Right.
I think
Ground,
the
and
closest
put an
we
auger
can
in
get
there.
would be more viable. Amy, are you comfortable with language with this?
I've done like a 360 on the language because of the way the CR is written. I don't want to say anything on there like, you know, no mowing, because in some of these, they can mow. So the one out at 15 Great Road just says conservation restriction area beyond this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then if you want to know what you can do beyond that point, you can, you know, cut trees. Some of these, one of these is in the middle of a septic field, so, you know,
Right.
that'll be a part of the deed.
Would you go to the point of putting the conservation, notify the conservation telephone number on there? Then there's no question, is it, they haven't got to go look it up, they haven't got to go figuring out who to call, they can.
Or just Littleton Conservation Commission, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So
So,
just like little lettering at the bottom, maybe.
Yeah.
So conservation restriction area
Mhm.
beyond this point, or just conservation restriction area? And then Littleton Conservation Commission.
And conservation restriction area is fine.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you say beyond this point, then the one that's offset, I mean, actually off the line, might be not true.
And you can always make Phil put up another one when he comes back in. So there'll be two.
Okay.
next to each other.
so do we need motions?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Let me just ask a question. So Amy, you're going to send me language?
Yeah, I'll send you
And
language.
then
I'll send you all
I'll
the-
sort of mock it up and
Yeah.
send it back to you with
Yeah.
the posted.
And frankly, if this sign works out, then we can just order a bunch of extra ones
Yeah.
too for other occasions.
How big? You're talking 6 by 6?
Well, the posts are 4x4, so I wouldn't get much bigger than that. So 6x6, something like that.
Okay.
Okay. What color? It's gonna come up, but what color? Yellow?
Green. It was green with white letters.
Something that's.
Wasn't there a round one that was white background with green letters, with green
Mhm.
print?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the conservation land one, the discs.
As long as it's got some.
And, you know, frankly, we had the discussion, you know, you had asked for caps on top of them, so he showed me the cap, and it was like a bright white, and I said, well, you know, let's tone it down a little bit, because this isn't for the public to know that there's not supposed to go on, it's for the private
Yeah, I
owner.
can get a brown one.
And since some of these are like right in someone's backyards, I
Yeah.
thought brown might be a better cap for
Brown,
that.
yeah.
I
So
thought, you know,
I would
it
just
was-
go white with green letters, I think that's fine.
white with green or green with white, depending
Yeah,
on.
yep,
Yeah, green with white.
okay.
So can I have a motion to that effect, or that the pipe posts shall be installed with an offset where needed?
I don't think we really need to make a movement for that. Just have we've had the discussion because, let's see, which ones are there? 5, 6, and 8 are not going to be installed. 12 is not going to be installed. 13 will be installed as an offset. So we can make that movement. Or I can just
Okay.
refer to the fact that it's been discussed in the minutes.
So
Somehow I
it-
want it marked up on the plan, so we know what we're talking.
Well,
Somebody
actually,
else down the road.
maybe the only
knows what
motion
we're
would
talking
be
about.
that number 13 could be offset, but the
So
rest
post
are
5,
pending.
6, 8, and 12.
5, 6, 8, and 12 are not installed, and 13 is going to be offset by a couple feet. And it's going to be green with white lettering or white with green lettering.
And, when 5, 6, and 8 are resolved, I'll put that in. You know, I'll install those. And if Mr. Pittarino is okay
So
at
when it's
that point.
resolved, can we have a time period to which they would be installed? So if all of a sudden miraculously they agree next week, that we'll say that within 60 days, Mr. Berger will install them.
Well, 5, 6,
Unless,
and 8 are
unless
gonna
it's
During the building
frozen.
season?
Yeah,
During
unless
the-
it's frozen ground.
5, 6, and 8 are going to take a while.
Yep, no, I'm just saying, so that we have the language that, so we're clear that when it is ready to go. Okay,
I'm just thinking forward in terms of Mr. Pittarino.
that's not part of the, I think we're good, we don't need to carry on the discussion anymore then, because that's something that we have to carry on with them. And the other abutters. Okay, do you have your motion, you're good, or you don't need it?
Well, I
I
think
guess we
we,
don't.
Okay,
okay, I guess.
good, okay, thank you.
Did we vote?
It's not a motion.
Hey, ain't a kind of a motion.
Yeah,
I kind of.
Do you want it as one or not?
Stated
Concom
what we
agrees,
decided.
I think we
5, 6,
should.
8, and 12
Okay.
do not need to be installed at this time, and post 13 can be offset along the CR line. Mr. Berger agreed to install the remaining posts within 60 days of the Concom resolving issues around these posts, weather permitting.
I'd like to have them all at the same time.
This is not a negotiation. I mean, this
Oh,
is,
Okay.
we're coming up with language for this, so, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Well, how
Want
about,
me to
how
make a
about,
motion?
how about within
Think-
60 days of the Concom notifying you that the.
Correct.
Because that way you can hold some if you want.
That's perfect. Okay. Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Durkey Farm updates and enforcement order discussion. Mass DEP file number 204-772, road 204-797 through 204-817 house.
One of your owners was here earlier.
Well, good. How did he or she do?
Good. Yep, lot
Lot
10.
10.
Yep, lot
Lot
10.
10.
Nice couple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
yep,
We got kids.
yep. And only literally 5 minutes.
Is that the only one you've?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe after the holidays, right?
Yep. I think you should tape a message, like a public service announcement for the new owners, and then they can just go watch it.
Good.
Well, and maybe, hopefully, he or she or both will spread the word that it wasn't painful.
He was painless.
Yeah.
I put him on first. Get him out.
Yeah.
Good evening.
You guys want to introduce yourself or the
Record Joe
microphone?
Pesnola from Hancock Associates, Frank Grove from Hancock Associates, and Dave Guthrie, the project proponent. We're continuing to be here to clean up some matters and to address some slight modifications to a few of the lots. Before you, we have three different lot modifications. Lots 22, lots...
Do you want to go ahead and open up a large locus or the scale, like the one that we used earlier?
Another one?
just so the commission can reference where the lots, no, we've got one right here. So if we can just take them one at a time, that would be good.
So let's take lot 22. Lot 22 is right on the, kind of across from the intersection here. We've got wetland B here and longer wetland here that comes down to Grimes. And all we're asking on this one is modification to incorporate a different house style. There's actually less impervious, both roof and driveway on this one. So that's,
Do you have a couple copies of that?
yeah.
Okay.
Were these submitted?
I got a couple more, yeah.
Yeah.
They're just not
So your overlay on that, which is
So
which?
overlay on that is the yellow is.
But your overlay is not on this that's submitted, correct?
It is, just not, it's not as dark.
Additional copies here.
Of the other ones.
All right, so we're on lot 22 first.
Kyle got one.
So which color? So the darker orange is what was, it or is the new?
And the yellow is, underneath is the original plan. So we're moving it kind of away and towards Spruce Street.
So you said the impervious has decreased.
Yeah.
More fill?
No, really no grading changes. Because we had already established the grading on these lots based on the septic system, so.
So you've removed the deck?
No, the deck's there.
Oh, yeah, the deck is there.
The deck is part of the
It
new
was
house
here.
configuration.
It was here, and now it's here.
Yeah. So we can go around the deck on either of the colors, but they're both there.
And it looks like the driveway, did that shift at all?
It got shorter and it's front-loaded, it was side-loaded, so that's.
The original driveway isn't on here, though.
Yeah, it is. It comes around and goes in the side of the building. So it kind of comes over from here and then goes into the side of the yellow.
So now you're 47 feet from
Oh, that line.
the wildlife, no, from the wetlands. And what were you before? That would have been like 50-something feet away?
61.
So you've gone from 61 feet away to 47. So you're closer to the wetlands and you're
Right.
closer to the wildlife
But
corridor.
we went from 43 from the other wetland at flag D23
Mhm.
to 78. So we were 43 feet away from a wetland, and now we're 47 feet away from just a different wetland.
The same one.
Well, I mean, a different part of the
Yeah,
wetland.
different picture.
But the driveway was closer,
The driveway was closer, yes.
so you're actually pulling the driveway back away from it, and you're pulling the house away.
And decreasing the impermeable.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like a good change. Okay, is everybody in support of 22?
So can I
Okay.
just ask,
Sure.
this is the one that's got one of the temporary basins on it right now, is that right?
Yes.
Am I in the right place? So is that, are you gonna start building this and get rid of that basin, or what's your schedule on that? 'Cause that basin's still sort of operative, isn't it?
I would say no, that's why we came in on it. We left it there in case we needed it, but
Yeah.
we're picking up most of the water in that catch basin here. It's very small that's coming down here, if anything, so we feel like we can control it if we need to.
So, Do you have the building permit yet for this, 22?
No.
Just for a second.
No, we weren't.
So I just, are you coming in soon? I would just want, if you're coming in before January 8th, I'd like to make sure the commission's okay with me signing off on the building permit, basically, put it that way.
So that's really
Or if
cleared.
it's gonna be after that, do that another time. I just don't wanna sign off on this because there's a temporary
Mhm,
basin.
yeah.
I wouldn't wanna sign off on the building permit when there's a temporary basin there without letting these guys.
Yeah, my guess
know what's
is
going on.
we most likely would be in before the 8th. We're getting down to that weather pending situation now relative to
yeah,
construction. But we have a buyer interested in this particular style house. The husband comes back December 23rd, and then it's gonna depend on what the weather does to us after that.
Yep.
So I'm not avoiding your question, I'm just unsure.
Okay.
So in the temporary basin now, where's that coming from on this lot?
So that was the BMP we used prior to having asphalt and curbing down, catch basins active. And what we did was, during construction, we had half the road going this way, no basin here, and then we'd have the road coming this way, no basin here. We took it all the way down to here because we were running utilities to this point. We bermed across this way here at our hay bale line here, our
Right.
silk fence line, and channeled it into that way now. Now, a majority of it's getting picked up here by a catch basin here, so we really have little to no flow. We left it here in case we did have a lot of flow going down here, but we're not seeing ourselves, and we've got substantial rain this fall, and we're not seeing that thing catching any water filling up, so we're pretty comfortable. I mean, if we weren't comfortable, we wouldn't have come in here and tried to get this thing ready, because we'd be in next spring with some wetland violation, so we were cognizant of keeping an eye on it this fall to see if it was going to function, and we're comfortable that we can manage it.
I was up there today, so all the cutting's done and, okay, so the next one is?
So that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
22 is
Yep.
all set.
Yep.
So the only thing I'd say about 22 is I think it was 22 and 23. I have to note the order condition said that when the foundations go in is when you always on a planting plan for this lower wildlife access corridor.
Mhm.
So it's probably a good time of year to start thinking about it, so it won't happen for a while.
So help me with that again, just so I know.
So for this lower, I believe the order condition said that when the foundations for 22 and 23 go in, then he
Right.
can see what the conditions are out there, is when he determine what planting plan needs to go on in the corridor.
Oh, I was gonna say, this is a wooded area we left,
Yeah, so it's just a small section.
Mhm. There's just an,
up by the road.
Yeah, exactly. So it just wasn't clear what was going to be left and what may or may not be needed, so.
yep.
You know what you like?
I have to go back up on site and,
I know when I see it.
right.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
I would make some suggestions and then we can go out and hopefully there won't be too much
This
snow.
area got modified a little bit, Brian, right, correct, when we came in on this modification for 23 to save more of these trees than originally anticipated, is that right? So it's a little different than what you.
Right, yeah, exactly, so-
So I welcome a visit, and you
Yeah.
can decide if you want to do anything. I think.
That's fine.
What happened where the tree stayed on 70%, and now you have that portion up there by the road if you want
Yeah,
to do
I think it's better just meet on site and just kind of go
Yeah,
through.
that's
It's
fine.
easier. Okay, do you want to do 26?
26.
26 is the first lot on the right-hand side on Spruce
Mhm.
here. And it's a little easier. Everybody have that one? Get some extra copies. So, different house style, smaller house, shortening up the driveway, moving it further away from the wetlands, so it went from 49 feet to 61 feet from the wetlands. Decrease in impervious
Mhm.
on this one as well, because it's a smaller house and a shorter driveway. And you can, the driveway's essentially in the same location,
Mhm.
but it's, the house is closer to the street, so that's
Okay.
the only thing on that. No grade changes.
And deck remains.
Deck remains,
Is that going to be the same size?
Yeah, they're, majority of them are 12 by 12. That one we moved away from the wetland. That just happened to coincide with the style of the home.
Okay. Okay, so it's a net decrease?
Yep.
Okay. Everybody in support of 26
Mhm.
changes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So lot 30, there's two things going on. We've got a slightly different house It's essentially the same distance from the wetlands.
Does everybody know where 30 is?
I'm sorry.
It's adjacent to the farm pond, so up on the farm pond.
Okay.
So, house is closer to the street, went from 67 feet from the wetlands to 69 feet from the wetlands.
Can you state that again, please?
67, it was 67 feet,
Mm-hmm.
now it's 69 feet. And the driveway was slightly shortened. This one's probably not a net decrease in impervious, it might be a couple square feet.
It was from, so this lot 30, if you recall, over the summer, we'd come in with a modification on essentially all the lots on Spruce Street. So we already basically flipped that, mirrored the house, pulled the driveway entirely out of the buffer. So there was a significant decrease over what was originally proposed. So really the key point to this lot and the change on this revision is the fence in the backyard.
Right, so we've already had discussions on the fence, though.
Correct, and the commission had asked for it to be staked, and it has been staked.
It was staked?
Mhm.
Okay, I must have missed that today. Okay, I'm not in support of the fence adjacent to the open space and that area, especially if it's flooding.
Yeah.
Because this is all still under management and negotiation, trying to figure out where the hydrology is on that, so.
But I think when it did flood last winter, it didn't flood up into this hill, it flooded down into this area here.
Right, but now, since that time, we haven't seen it flood again because of the frozen ground. This is a different configuration now in terms of your grading. So I'm hesitant to make a commitment to 30 while this is still in flux. But the commission, I'm only one voice.
Because of?
So the commission can adjust let you know their thoughts.
So we have a buyer for this, the house is in agreement, and it's conditioned on a fence in their backyard. So if you don't like the fence, then we'll look for another buyer. But I think, if you're worried about.
Is the fence in 100 feet from the wetlands?
It's not, it's outside of 30, but it's within 100.
This portion is within the 100.
Mm-hmm. Right, so it's within the jurisdiction of the conservation.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
It's within the 50.
Family with young kids and a dog, they just want to fence their yard.
Yeah.
Is there any way at least to make it smaller? Like pull a little bit out?
I think we
out
could pull
of
it
the
back.
100?
If you're worried about wildlife, I don't know that wildlife knows where they're going, but if we pulled it back 5 feet or 10 feet,
I mean,
Like make it the corner of the house?
what, this is an open space subdivision, and what I think there's a balance in which we've created open space, we've created.
Underwater.
We've created yards, and we're providing signage and notation to people so they understand that this is their yard, and that's not their yard, that's open space, that's resource, that's wildlife corridors, that's what have you.
And
So
by
it-
adding a fence within that close to the proximity of the wetlands is not a benefit to the wetlands. It's a
But it's also not something that would impact the wetlands.
aren't you further protecting that you don't get grass clippings, you don't get leaves dumped in there? I mean, this is everything you hope for, isn't it?
Well, we also have a dog that's gonna go out pooping pretty close to the wetland there. So,
I wouldn't call it everything we hope for. It's-
But I think the
Yeah,
dog.
and you're putting a fence in within
pull it
50-foot
out of
buffer
the-
zone.
yeah,
I agree with that.
So,
maybe
How
outside of the
tall,
50.
how tall are we talking for a fence?
Within the 50, it's.
8-10 feet?
This is a solid fence, though, right?
Outside.
6-foot vinyl fence.
That's so 6 feet, so nothing's gonna migrate through.
Woodfielder has a different style of fence, open sliding.
I just think it's too close to the wetlands. I mean, it wasn't on any of the original plans, I think it's too close.
can pull it out of the 50,
That's what I'm checking now.
Yeah.
which would mean 20 feet.
Does that pretty much come off the corner of the house, right?
I think it's a good compromise, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be off the corner of the house. So that
I
would
mean,
be
I think
50.
from a buyer's perspective, if they're not losing yard, if they want to corral the dog or the children, then that's yard enough. If they want to play outside of it,
Right.
then that's yard enough too, I think it's fair.
I would encourage you to go out and have them restake it and look at it in proximity to the,
I think that makes sense.
to the wetlands and the open space.
All right.
You want to let me know when it's staked so I can let everybody else know? I don't know, is it staked?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident it's staked right now, but I'll verify that. I'll
Okay.
send you an email tomorrow.
But the stake is to bring it outside the 50, right? That's a restake.
Yeah, so we start to shift the 3 stakes closest to the well.
What's the timing on the closing? Or the,
But we have time. We have time. You want to get up there in the next couple of weeks, so we can. Who's heading out?
As soon as you let Amy know, the commission can go out. Some of us are out there. Okay, so we are in, so we still have to acknowledge 30. So you've moved the house, and the commission has to acknowledge the moving of the house if they.
No, this is
no,
strictly for
I'm
the
sorry.
fence.
Yeah, that was.
That was done already? This
We-
is strictly for the
we-
fence.
we
Okay,
had that.
because this is colored.
Yeah, we
so-
would have put the foundation in without coming in here
Right,
first. Yeah.
okay, okay. So you have the support of
there is no
22 and
change
26.
to the house?
It's
No.
just a fence.
Oh, okay.
We previously changed it months ago. This is just a fence. Yeah, the house got highlighted, it didn't need to be.
Right,
I see.
okay.
Apologize for that. This is just a fence.
So the final two issues are the ongoing farmers pond discussions and the enforcement order on the roadway itself. I think they're somewhat connected. With regard to the enforcement order on the road, originally it was put on, there were problems with obviously sedimentation, erosion control. There was a lot of disturbed earth out there. There was justification for it. Now we have, that's all cleaned up. The site's in very good shape.
But there were other issues, drainage going into your detention basins as well, so there were.
So that's all been rectified from the standpoint of, we believe the only issue that's outstanding in the commission's mind is the additional information on what you're looking for on the farmer's pond and the groundwater issues.
And how well the detention basin is working on the corner of the road since it was excavated, reworked, because it does still have quite a bit of water in it presently. So we need to affirm that that is working properly, because I was surprised that there was as much water in there today.
And how are we affirming that? I mean,
That's our question to you. So we need to make sure that it's working properly. It's only just recently been redone this, what month was that?
It was done just before the big storms, the end of October.
yeah.
It was dry, bone dry before the storms, and then it like totally flooded afterward, and it started coming down, and then I stopped paying attention to it.
Right, so we've been.
Did it ever totally infiltrate?
I have notes in my phone, because I went out there and measured it quite often, whether it be every 2 days or 3 days, and it was dropping its 3 or 4 inches a day. It was functioning very well. We weren't going long enough for it to completely dry out before we get rain again, as I filled in on that pond log. We just got a lot of rain. So I don't know if it's now in the situation where it's gonna slowly infiltrate, because the ground's getting hard, we've got a foot of frost out there. I don't know the status, we're gonna watch it as well.
Okay.
We're committed to the thing prior to turning it over to the town. You know, we've rebuilt it once, we'll rebuild it again if we have to, but we're committed to it.
So I guess we're looking for something from the commission. We believe it's functioning properly, and we'd like to get to the point where we can we don't have the enforcement order hanging over it.
So it sounds like the commission needs to go out and do a site walk with you to go through that.
With regard to the farmer's pond and the ongoing investigation, we're
we're struggling with the continued call for additional information. And I think where I come down on it is, we understand the scope of what you would like GeoInsight to do. We understand the technical aspects of that, what physically they're going to measure and what physically they're going to collect for data. What I'm struggling with is, what do we do with that data? What does it tell us about the situation at hand, about what might have happened in the past, and then more importantly, where do we go with this data, and what scenarios can the commission see happening from having that information? In my mind, we did what we were asked to do in discovery.
But you didn't, to be clear, there are requests that we made numerous times that was not done, and that was in addition to additional testing. We've only just received very sporadic notes that were given to us, which don't indicate Mike's notes, of all the elevations. So the data that was given to Amy just recently is truly insignificant, because there's not enough elevation. So this is not what we had asked for in the field numerous times. So you were there, Mike was there, we had constantly asked for elevations. Through this time period from May 2nd to now, through December 8th, which is 7.5 months, there's only 37 readings. And some of them have larger gaps and don't make note of any of the dewatering times. So these notes, I don't feel are all the field notes that we were told in earnest were being taken. Like, I don't think Mike's notes are on these.
So what we ran up against there, Sarah, is we ended up, with Mike left, as we talked about meetings and meetings ago. Mike left to go.
Right, but his data is not on here.
Because he wasn't there every day to shoot the pond.
Well, he was there
But-
during the pumping.
Yeah, none of that is even on this.
Okay.
So if you look at what was submitted to us, I think you'll see that either it wasn't done and it wasn't noted, or we just wasn't given to us.
Okay.
Because there's very little data here.
Okay.
So perhaps you guys have it, but this is certainly very little to go by.
So I'll ask him for his notes on pumping, but at the end of the day, what are we getting from that?
Well, we're trying to,
I mean, if you visit that site every day, you'll see that that farmer's pond is probably where it should be. And if we get substantial rain, we get a little flooding into that wetland adjacent to it, it drains back out, and we're back to where that farmer's pond is. I think last winter,
well,
when you
there's
came
still
out in
quite a bit
March.
of, I was out there today, so there's still quite a bit of water out, not self-contained in the pond
And we're getting
at the moment.
water, though. If you look at our rainfall, the rainfall data is on, verify itself. But I think if you look at when you came out in the spring, guys, the place was a mess, non-negotiable. It was a mess. And you put an enforcement order on it, and you wanted our ponds resolved, and you wanted the roads cleaned, and you wanted some resolution on this, some discovery on this farmer's pond. We put all our curbing in, we stabilized all our lawns, we rebuilt our detention ponds, and this farmer's pond isn't the problem it was last year, and it hasn't been. And we've received a lot of rain in a short period of time in some situations there. And I think now we're saying, keep recording the thing, and we had a rod in there, and then the rod wouldn't stay up because the water got too low, and then we put another one in there, and then that one wasn't functioning as well. So then we started paying Hancock to go out and measure the thing, and I'm saying, it doesn't look that bad to the naked eye or the trained eye when you drive through the site. That farmer's pond, does it look like it's the problem it was last spring that triggered this entire enforcement order and justified the discovery that you asked for? And it was justified, and we did do it. And these guys have come to almost every meeting we've had, and at some point I'm saying, man, I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars on this thing, and what's wrong with the farmer's pond right now, I guess is what I'm asking. And the board's eyes, would share with me, because I'm spending a pile of money on this.
What fundamentally I want to get across here is that the farmer's pond area is now fully self-contained. It doesn't receive any stormwater from anywhere else except what falls upon it, that area. We've provided all of the calculations to GeoInsight. We worked with them on their questions of hydraulic soil groups, and we recalculated it based on the Group D soils, but it is a self-contained area that is naturalized, and we have the farmer's pond, but then we have an extensive bordering vegetated wetland around it. The definition of a bordering vegetated wetland is that water's within 12 inches of the surface. So yes, it's gonna appear wet beyond the banks of the farmer's pond at times of rain and so forth. And we feel that, as Dave said, it's all set now, and we'll leave it alone.
Do we know if there's any additional water coming into that farmer's pond from, are there springs that might be, that, some of this information was what we had asked for, like, what is contributing? You're saying it's just natural, we're saying that we think there might be something else contributing to that farm pond.
Right, but I don't think
Because I don't
that's
want
not
No,
clear.
because we had always thought that something could have been fractured, and that's why we'd always asked for just some additional borings. But this has been, we have asked, and the notes will show that this has been asked for 8 to 10 months, that we've always asked for more data. And that could have just simply been done with some geotesting data to actually go and see
Well-
if perhaps something else is fractured.
Do you believe,
in
is
there.
it the board's opinion that you asked for this prior to Geo Insight's report? Because 8 to 10 months puts us back prior to an enforcement order, and I'm not picking
No,
on your case,
no, I mean,
but my point
so,
is you get-
sorry, so we're talking, yeah, so when it first flooded.
You're
So
on
we're-
record of asking us for additional testing in that pond?
Yes.
Or discovery? Because
Through-
nobody
through-
knew what happened.
through discovery.
Which
And
would
we-
include, which would include
Yep.
testing, because you can't
But
get
you
to.
asked us to define the discovery, guys. You said,
Right.
this is your problem, go figure it out.
Yes, we did.
But you didn't say,
Right,
I
but
would-
in the last few meetings, and ask your engineer who's been here many times, that we've actually asked, so maybe not 8 months, so I stand clarified on that.
It was
But
in April.
Now, you're on target.
You said they will obtain new and old test pit info to confirm the groundwater.
Well, yeah, but we can't,
And then
we
just kept getting
couldn't
cut
do, we
off.
couldn't do any test pits in that area while it was flooded.
Right.
So then we had a.
But you also drew down,
Prolonged discussions
Yep.
over the drawdown. We drew it down.
Mm-hmm.
And still we couldn't go in there and do anything. The water continues to be at or near the surface because it's wetland.
that's what the deep
So,
hole is
so
showing.
I don't, it's groundwater.
I feel like the target and.
And there's no.
But what about the manhole? I mean, there was a whole issue of that manhole with that drainage structure that we didn't totally understand.
Which has been there the entire time through the
But it-
ORAD process,
We-
right?
we
I mean,
believe
didn't-
that-
We didn't put that in. So let me just
No, I
back,
know
let me
you
give you my
didn't put that
perspective
in,
on
but
this.
we didn't understand I thought that there was a potential that there was some other drainage from some other point that had collapsed, and that's why it wasn't allowed, it wasn't draining water from somewhere. And so, in other words, we just didn't totally understand how the hydrology was functioning in that way, and whether through the construction, something had collapsed where it.
Right.
Oh, sorry. So I guess the question is, you're saying by building the road, did we block some mechanism that drained
well,
the pond?
I think that's apparent. So we knew that there was probably some sheet flow that went through, and, but back to Jim's question, are there springs there, is there something else? So that way we actually know what's there in that pond area, to then, if you're putting a pipe through, or we also have to be very aware of what's happening, potentially going to happen down gradient as well. So we need to understand where the water's coming from, but
I don't think that this is gonna give you what you want. I mean, tell me how
You need to buy all the guys,
sinking a
yeah.
couple monitoring
Yeah.
wells is gonna find the source of a spring or what have you. It's groundwater. Groundwater's at or near the surface. Whatever the groundwater is, whatever's supplying that groundwater, which is up gradient or just rainfall that soaks into the ground, is gonna continue to be there. So, let's just speculate for a minute and go to the worst case scenario. There's a spring. There was some drainage that now doesn't exist anymore. What is that, where do we go with that? Does the commission want to put it back to where it was? Or or as I say.
I don't think we can ever go back to where it was, because now you have a road there, so.
No, and I truly, we can look at the topography all day. The road did not create the wetland. The wetland was there.
But it trapped it.
It trap, it
It didn't, no, it didn't trap it. It was
The road
already, it was
trapped it.
already
Yeah,
trapped,
it was-
and
it-
we've demonstrated that it had to, it has to fill up beyond elevation 263 before it would have spilled in there, which is why we want to put in this relief pipe at that elevation, so that we can have, we can mimic that existing surface. So it's, even if we put the pipe in, it's still gonna be trapped at those lower reaches the way it was trapped.
Right, but now you have a point of discharge on the other side, which we haven't even looked at the other side yet.
We don't have a point of discharge. The discharge has to be engaged during a storm event, and it's not. We went through the calculations with Geo Insight all the way up to the 100-year storm, and the pipe isn't engaged. So it's not a discharge, it's a relief pipe if the stars align again and we have frozen ground and we have the 500-year storm and we don't want it to fill up the way that it filled up the way it did last time. So it's a belt and suspenders thing. It's a stopgap to what had happened, which again, we speculate that it happened because we didn't have curbing in, and we had disturbed surfaces, and water that shouldn't have got in there. Now the only water that gets in there is the water that lands within that naturalized area.
So purely rainfall.
Purely rainfall. There's no storm water from our project that goes in there.
But I think there's underground water coming from up above.
Yeah, there's definitely,
That part
That's
of-
always been there, right?
That's
but I'm just saying-
Carpet it always had, it was not contained
it
before.
wasn't contained.
It wasn't contained.
Typically, that
Above
road,
263,
right, it
correct?
rose and it
Right.
overflowed.
Well, that's what, so
Across,
it
and it's
flowed over
obvious.
there, and that's what the pipes can emulate, isn't it, guys? It flowed towards that stream in that wetland that's on the backside of lots 10 and 11 and 12, and that's what that pipe's can emulate. It's not gonna, we're not doing anything different, other than maybe if it drained over a broader sheet. And
It brought over, it definitely drained over a broader sheet.
But it's still getting to the same
historically.
place, right?
Yeah. Amy, your question?
Isn't it?
So your calculation, G Insight's calculation showed that pipe would not discharge in the 100-year storm?
Yeah, that's what, I don't.
Because at the end of October, it was up to at least 263. The pond flooded out again, and then they had to pump it down. So it was,
And what
We
year
were-
storm
we've
was
already-
that?
unfortunately, that thing can't print the columns.
Right.
Those have
I
that.
think, that's just one page.
It's not gonna be on there.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, the pipe will emulate the results you were getting prior to us building the road. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
How come?
Because I still think there's going to be a direct discharge.
I mean, in April, in fairness to us, in April, you asked for deep hole tests. We went out there, deep hole tested to determine groundwater or refueling, correct? So if we run out there tomorrow and run a deep hole test, you're gonna find groundwater at 6 or 8 inches, which it's always been. I mean, and what do we gain from that?
Well, I mean, I would agree in a way. I mean, you, no matter what, you're gonna have
For
to
the
have
sheet to go through and then
a
sheet.
flow from the
instead
farm
of
pond
having-
into that. So it's just the sizing of it, I would think, that would, and the design of that would be based on the amount of water that you're getting. And the amount of water you're getting is based on, whatever calculations you say to what's contributing to it. So
How long,
But let me offer-
how long do
So
we
you have to
have
know that
data
pretty
since
thoroughly.
all the curbing, since everything, so since we're only just getting rainfall? So at what point did we start to collect data to make sure that it's gonna stay where it is, with the exception of the rainfall? So when was all the curbing, so what's been our period of observation once everything's been tight? Like where you can say it's no more, it's definitely not curbing, where you've ruled out everything.
I would
How
say
much
the-
time has gone by?
I would say the
May 1st.
after.
No, I don't agree,
No,
because we didn't have
after
lawn
the
in on
first.
This is,
We didn't have a lawn in on lot 7 May
Af-
1st, so if you've got a contributing factor there without your lawns.
well, you said it was cut off. You said on the April 24th site walk, discussed establishing the curb line to cut off the flow, which you did by the May 1st site walk. That was the point of the May 1st site walk.
That cut off the flow from the roadway. She's
Right, but we
there's
don't-
still, without a
until-
lawn in there, you're still gonna see additional
Until we
flow.
drew it down, we're not getting data that means anything. because it had the
Yes.
water there from prior. So we had to, our starting point should be when we first drew it down to 262.
Let me touch on the pipe.
I have a
if I
hell of a
may.
time, I couldn't print this spreadsheet out as, you can only get like the first column of it. But this didn't have any of the water elevations since the drawdown. There's like.
Right, so
maybe
that
4 or
doesn't
5
have the
readings.
data to,
And I'm sure Mike was out there doing daily readings during the pumping piece of it, at least.
I will check with him on that. If the pipe goes in and it's a 18-inch pipe or 12-inch pipe, this isn't a stormwater management issue. It's a relief of the wetlands to emulate the pre-construction conditions in 263. And if it drains over 3 days out of 12-inch pipe, or 5 days out of 12-inch pipe, or 1 day out of the 12-inch pipe, there's really no
what
harm
if
because
during
it's in a
construction,
wetland.
they hit a spring,
trying
activated
to
something,
do
or
is
fractured
balance.
something during putting in the
Basically,
road up there?
if it
I mean,
starts to take
we
the
don't know
water
that this is
before it builds up,
pre-development.
You should keep
No,
the
we don't.
top
Properly.
on at the
Can we do
same
one
level.
discussion?
Sorry.
Yep.
I was just-
Well, mine was
Yeah, yeah.
sidebar to Carl, so.
So it's gonna emulate what was happening before. It was cresting at forgive me for the exact numbers, cresting at 263, bleeding over that hump and leaving. And then the rest of it would stay on the inside and eventually infiltrate again. That's going to happen with the elevation we set that pipe. And it doesn't matter how long it takes that pipe to relieve that thing. It's not going to be a year, it's not going to be 6 months, but it may be 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, or 1 day. And at the end of the day, you're not destroying anything because it's sitting in a wetland. Now,
So how
Well, it
much
does,
water
it's
are you
just
willing to
change.
put
Even
in
on the
there,
weed.
rainfall, before that pipe activates?
263. Where's the, can you?
So absolute worst case, you're looking at water level of 263. If it doesn't discharge for whatever reason.
Right.
pre-construction condition. We're speculating because that was the
No,
hump.
I'm saying worst case, water's
Yeah.
like a permanent at 263.
But we did see good infiltration all fall, every time we got a rainfall. We saw good infiltration.
Then what is that worst case? What's the impact to that worst case?
Well, you're flooding back into this area potentially. You're kind
We're-
of spreading and.
That's what created that wetland to begin with, right? Some flooding. That's why it is a wetland.
Although, I mean, I thought old orthos showed that it stayed within those tight boundaries. Like for every picture that we could come up with.
Well, yeah, because it was a bowl. I mean, we created the bowl. It couldn't,
Right, but it was also-
it couldn't spread anymore because they had created, lot 7 and kind of lot 30 in the road.
Historically.
Oh,
Yeah,
historically,
before-
yeah, yeah.
before the
Oh, sorry.
construction,
Yeah.
it
Right,
had
but on
never
an
been
ortho,
enlarged.
that thing's 15 feet deep, so on an ortho photo, that dark shows up, that pond shows up. If we had water in the field next to it, and the grass was
A foot tall.
2 feet tall.
You're not gonna see it.
You're not gonna see the water that was there. I think, yes, it was probably never as bad as it was last spring, but that, we think, was, again, because of the, not having the curbing there and letting more water into that area. and
So,
what have you.
and I probably missed it because you guys were talking. So at what point, how long have we been at a point to which we are right now? So has it been with curbing and with vegetation for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? So at what point can we say,
When did you
okay,
lift
we,
the order
we,
on 7? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. When
Yeah.
did you lift the order on 7? Because that's when we were able to plant that lawn. And that had to be in September sometime.
right, I just want,
August 7th.
yeah.
But that was a lift for the septic.
Okay, but how about the
There,
rest
there,
of
there
it?
were, there were a couple partial lifts.
Okay.
Well, by August 7th, the front lawn was in, but the septic wasn't.
And so, and since that time, we've not had any major flooding, so just from rainfall. You've had good infiltration.
Yeah.
But then October. it
When was the
flooded,
last
right?
drawdown?
In October, early November.
But here again, that was when we had good vegetation
And curbing.
and curbing.
And still.
So I guess what I would like to know is that if you look at the sheer volume of the rainfall, can you 100% say to me that that area, all of it flooded because it was solely the amount of rainfall? And that's a statistical that I don't believe that we've looked at.
No, we submitted those calculations, so,
I
I mean.
firmly
we-
believe that, Sarah.
we
With
submitted
with the rain
calculations.
data?
Not with the rain data, but with the storm events, so you could correlate it to the 10.
Right, but I would want to
100.
know with the volume of rain that came, which is easy to find.
About 8 inches all at once in one weekend.
Right.
Yeah, we got a lot of it.
I'm trying to rule out the fact that we can say 100% that there's nothing else that has happened during the course of development, like a fracture, hitting something else, different rocks, different pipes, things like that. So,
Yeah, but we're talking about predominantly sandy glacial tills out here. We don't have rock.
Well, I just, can I help to understand your question a little bit? You're saying, is there a possibility that in building this road, we fractured
yeah,
something?
or even, I'm thinking even more kind of up here or something back here that would have activated something else, like a spring, something else. So I just need to make sure that what we're dealing is solely with the farm pond and that there's no additional contributories post-construction.
Well, can I offer you this? This entire component here is a fill.
Mhm.
So it'd be tough for us to get in the ground and actually fracture something that was substantial. We didn't blast in that area. There's no record of that. The fire department could confirm that. And we didn't excavate out 5 or 6 feet to get into something that was a potential drain in that hole or something that was allowing the water to go. We filled.
Right, because we did have a lot of water up here behind lots 13 and 14, so that's why that went in and runs down there.
So I understand that
I mean, when this road went in with that catch basin that was there, we could hear the water literally running in. So the curbing, the road was in, but when you had the sinkhole, you could hear the water, and it hadn't rained, you could hear the water running into that pipe. So I don't know where that water was coming from, but that's water that's trying to get into here. And so I'm not the only one that saw that or witnessed that. The other commissioners were out. So that was, to me, kind of mind-boggling why that was happening. You could hear the water running into that, and that's ultimately, I think, why we had that sinkhole, too.
So I guess, you know, if we somehow blocked water off from getting in there, then we'd have an excessively dry condition, which is not something we're battling. We're battling the polar opposite right now. And
It's groundwater seep. It's what it is. It's just groundwater that's getting to an elevation that's bleeding out. You have an uphill area.
I completely understand your position in the spring and do another test hole and the enforcement order and the stop and let's get our arms around the site. I feel like we respectfully answer the mail when it comes to come see you every 2 weeks, update you, bring the team, clean the road, put the curbing in. And I think when we talked about getting in here and not a typical condition of building 2,300 feet to get into construction, where typically you build here and get all your road in, but we donated this open space to be contiguous with the piece we donated on K. If you look at what we're doing on Spruce, I think, and you drive through there, I hope that you would at least support me in the fact that you think we have learned quite a bit and now have our arms around the site out there. And I think and I apologize if in April that you had asked us to do other deep holes, as you stated, in Amy's reading of it, to determine what was going on in here, guys. But quite honestly, if I give you a deep hole and find groundwater at 6 inches, we didn't learn anything.
Well, I guess I'm wondering though, if it's flooded, as Sarah went over, it flooded, even though the curbing was in, even though the grass was in, it flooded again, you had to pump it out. So it sounds like it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen repeatedly to that level. So either you're gonna have to come and pump it out every time that happens, or you have to design some sort of drainage. So how are you gonna do it so it drains sufficiently quickly so that we don't get damage to the wetland when it keeps flooding?
So I think that
You don't want it to drain quickly, you want it to kind of seep off.
Well, the pipe
We've got to be careful,
science.
but we've got to be careful what we're doing down gradient if all of a sudden we're adding more water into a specific area as well. That's a concern that I have.
Right, but we've
going there before we
we've
got
done the
there.
calculations.
That's where we pumped it,
And
right?
and if we
No,
put
we
this,
wouldn't, no.
right, we put this relief
Before we
pipe
built
in
the road.
263.
Yeah, but it was also able to, it was over a wide swath, so it was able to infiltrate over this whole area.
Right. So we could go to the end of that pipe in the back of lot 11 and put a level spreader across there.
So we're talking discharge. So very,
Discharge when we get to that staged elevation, when we get beyond, we get 3 days of rain that cumulatively is beyond the 100-year storm, there was discharge prior, when it reached that saddle and it went to the wetlands. If we, and so it's not a new discharge. So if we put a level spreader in there, we can mimic what happened in the existing conditions. It's all we're.
The existing conditions was over a wide area. So I think we have to be clear, existing conditions flowed through a
You're not gonna
substantial
mimic that.
area.
That's
So we're not,
impossible.
we have to be very clear, we cannot replicate what was there before.
Joe,
We can't
so two things.
replicate.
Right.
The only
Do
way
we
to
know that this-
replicate what was there before was not to do anything
Right.
else.
And there was meetings such that we even thought that if this was going to happen, well, we thought that a lot 11 would perhaps go away, and that this would be an area that was discussed in this meeting, that it might be an area for that to kind of come through as well. So now we're talking just one specific pipe.
Right, but if I put the pipe through here and then come across the back of this with a perforated pipe in stone through a T that has to bleed out over 100-foot distance.
Well, you're
It's-
talking about houses that are already built, and so to come out and to kind of diffuse that over a wider area.
I can do it at the back of the lot.
It's down gradient. This, first of all, when we say this diffused over a lengthy period, I don't know that we know that was exactly the case.
Where's the, can you grab that?
I don't know that
rolled up one?
263 was level for 300 feet, and it crested and fused over that. But at 263, this is still gonna hold water. It's gonna look like it's flooded, but that's
Right, but
what, but that's what it did. It's the 265 that scared everybody. And those were our peaks,
But it-
those were our peaks last spring.
But then we have to be careful that we're not going to choke out the wetlands all over again.
Well, that's the science behind 263, and I think,
Right.
I think everybody's,
So-
not everybody, but the consultants agree that that was the number.
So here's the saddle, and here's the a 264 contour and a 264 contour. So that's the relief point. So when this area got up to 263, that saddle right there, that width is what theoretically would have flowed. And that's what we're looking to mimic. So if we come across with a pipe.
Is that where that stake is that's out there now?
There's two stakes, one on the farmer's pond side and then one on the Wet Meadow side. So those are the.
Just indicating
indicating the location.
the new
where
pipe.
goes by.
But we end that pipe in a T, in a perforated pipe that's in a stone on the side of the embankment, then it's just gonna bleed out of the stone. Gently, sheet flow, get into this meadow and run across the meadow.
Not every day, this is a.
This is when the pipe is
Substantial
engaged.
rainfall.
Yeah.
Substantial rainfall.
Personally, I would support putting the money into a solution like that rather than more investigation about the water. That's how
That's
I
fine.
feel.
Mhm.
Because we know it's gonna flood, we know it's gonna flood substantially, it's coming from somewhere, but we know the amount that, to expect right now. So I would think we could deal
Well,
with
that's
that.
why I think that these last, even if it's just this last month or last 2 months, now that you have grass and you had some infiltration, it's just unfortunate that now it's frozen. So to be able to see where it's really going, how much it's going to infiltrate, I wish we had had another month of what we had in October, because then you would be able to see much more of the infiltration.
So if it,
But that's, so I think that we have to schedule a site visit anyways, so I think the commission to go out and see the actual location of the pipe, and you can see the depressions and see the elevations. But the
And then
commission
just-
has not been out on a formal site walk to see where the pipe is gonna go, and then that'll give you a chance to actually pin out in the field where you propose the discharge area to be.
yeah, we're all right with that. Yeah. Yeah. We anticipated a sidewalk, so we're fine with that. Help give everybody a better understanding.
Well, we gotta do it before snow.
For when?
Before more snow. No, seriously, because
After the melt, before it snows again.
It's gonna be warm this week, so, and I'm not suggesting when you go.
Warm and it's gonna get cold again.
Yeah, but we have to be able to see it, so you
I
can
agree
see
with
it,
you.
so.
So how are we gonna see it on the snow?
Well, I mean, I went out there today and you can see it. So,
Can I also ask, have you thought about, I'm not sure if it's worth consideration, being able to put boards in the upper
Mhm.
level, some sort of weir,
right.
so it can be controlled.
That's what
So
James
if
had
it looks like it's
mentioned
either
that-
too wet or too dry,
Mm.
we can drop a board or take out a board.
Yep. We have a couple here in town
So
already.
especially for like, you know, the first year or two,
Mhm.
can you, and then it'll probably just be static after that.
Yeah,
But are these
we can
guys
break
gonna-
some up to put batter boards over the front of the pipe.
Just something in the front.
Yeah.
Are these guys gonna be responsible for the basins from,
Well, that would be the other issue, yeah.
because they're, after that point, I mean, like, who's gonna be in charge of, like, taking those boards out?
I think it would just be, we,
Oh, I think it's gonna be, before we turn this
Whoever wants
project
to go
over.
ice skating that
Yeah.
year.
Before we make it, before we, come in to close out our order conditions someday and turn the roads over to the town. I think we're gonna have a couple of years of data points in there to know that,
Right.
leave the board in, take the board out, make it a smaller board.
and if we had to, at the end, we could formalize that weir structure by pouring some concrete and actually having that as a
At the correct
permanent.
level.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just so that.
And to make sure the level's correct. I mean, we don't always get it right on the first
No,
shot
that's,
on the site.
that's
so
actually a good idea.
Believe it, it's gonna stay open anyways. When do we wanna, when do you think you can have pins and thoughts there?
It's
Stakes now,
stake
right?
there.
There's stakes now, and we just have to shift 3 stakes on lot 30, so you can understand what the 50 is.
And then
Do that tomorrow.
we
But
can-
it sounds like your outfall area might be a little bit different than what you had thought originally.
Yeah, if we,
based-
we'll.
So
we'll-
those pins will need to be, I don't want us to go out and go, well, it might shift. We really want this to be kind of exact with your expertise.
No, what we'll do is we'll look at this, we'll overlay this 264 saddle in the existing condition. We'll come up with a length of level spreader, and then we'll throw those two
So
additional.
how wide would that spreader be?
Additional stakes in there. If we
You
were
were
gonna.
talking 100 feet.
Well, I just threw that number out, but I can actually measure the distance between the 264 contours.
And so would the pipe outlet be buried? Is that a maintenance issue? Or does the pipe
It'd be.
daylight and then go into a,
It would be in some trap rock, but it wouldn't be that deep. So if it had to be, if the trap rock had to be
Opened, it could
removed
get-
and
yeah.
the pipe had to be replaced because it crushed or.
I think the source is clean as well in this particular case.
maybe grass or something,
Yeah, the-
organic stuff getting in there.
That's, yeah.
One muskrat just,
Yeah, it's actually about 100 feet, so.
When we do have the site walk, if you can bring a map that's similar to that for the commissioners, that's like a big scale so that when we can see that.
Yep.
Um,
No, we can actually we can superimpose it on here, so you can see it in the proposed condition, but you can also see how it relates to the.
So this spreader's gonna be in people's backyards?
It'll be in the embankment on the back side of their yard.
So it'll have to be fenced off, it'll have to be,
Why?
so you're gonna end up with everybody's grass clippings and everything in it.
Well, that's something, I
So-
mean, there's a lot to think about. like
Yeah,
that.
no, there's a lot, I think once you get out there onto the site, I'll give that back to Amy.
Well, it should be on the conservation easement.
Would it be,
Isn't that where it would be?
say that again, Amy?
Should be
Yeah,
on
that's,
the-
that's the one that we use, so you can't walk away with that one.
Yeah, it could actually be just over the line in the open space. Or is that?
No, we're gonna make it put in your space, it's not coming into our open space. We've lost enough open space
Right.
underwater.
About right on.
Yeah,
the
no,
line.
that's not negotiable.
About right on the line.
Yeah, we're not impacting the open space anymore.
It's gonna impact it with the water just going across the
Yeah,
anyway.
but so it can cut, it's gonna get cut back.
Property owner's gonna be happy with a flood
No,
backyard.
it'll have to be cut back into the lot.
Lot 11.
or wherever you propose it. So,
Where are you proposing? Yeah, oh, yeah, we can get to that.
you haven't built on 11,
Right.
Okay.
which comes back to
All
the
right.
original, is what we should have done.
Guess we gotta move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to try and, while the commission's here, is think about when we're going to go out. So when do you think you'll have, in light of holidays and things like that?
You stick it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's take it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not gonna do this. We'll be ready tomorrow. We'll have the sketch as well.
Wednesday's supposed to be
Friday
nice.
Have Friday off.
I can do
I could do
Thursday, Friday.
You can
I
do
mean, we'll just
Friday?
do, we'll
I
just
can
do
do
it,
Friday.
Okay.
we'll just do it early enough so people can,
I'd probably do it early Friday.
Yeah,
Early
just
Friday
do it.
on the airport, I'm not sure what time.
well, let's just say Friday morning. I mean, at least we get some commissioners out there.
Friday at,
I'm here, so. Are you Western Mass on Friday?
Maybe.
8?
Just plan it, I'll see if I
8:30?
can make it.
8:30?
What time do you go to work?
If I go out there,
Nine?
That's my play date.
6:30.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
9 is fine with me.
Friday night?
9, got it.
Okay, thank you.
Got it, Amy.
And then, Amy, can you send an email out so that Andrew knows?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Probably have to do an email reminder on Thursday.
What time, 9 a.m.?
Remind me.
Full disclosure, my children will be with me.
If it's room for them to run.
Sitting here looking at it, I really should-
Frosted
No,
Okay,
I don't wanna.
so let's keep going.
No.
All right, we ready?
Let's break it off.
Can you, public hearing, notice of intent, 119 Russell Street, R18-20, Mass File, Mass DEP.
Gentlemen, let's go.
204-862, redevelopment existing commercial property.
Doug, you ready?
Yes.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
No worries.
Okay. So let's start with an overview of where we were at the last meeting.
All right. Draw. There's like a quick overview from the last.
Amy shared with us the email in terms of some of the changes as well. Yep.
Good evening, for the record, Brian Goodrich with Hancock Associates, along with Dave Cowell, our senior wetland scientist, and Dudley Shinn, council on this, with Bob Locke and Doug with workers. So after the last meeting, we went through a round of revisions on the wetland exhibit plan and issued that, and I'll let Dave kind of speak a little bit more to exactly what those changes were.
Yep.
And it was asked for us to take a look at specifically these 3 trees in here to see if there's an opportunity to be able to save them, amend the plan a little bit. And we did run through the exercise of going on another site distance view shed analysis for the proposed building, and we still strongly feel that these 3 trees are going to have that visual impact to the neutral side of the building. But what we did do is we adjusted the wetland enhancement plan to really expand the mitigation and to provide that upper canopy in a slightly different location. And Dave, if you'd like to
Sure.
speak to that, those changes.
Yep, I think it's easier if I just point it out in the plans. I'll sit over here, that's fine. So essentially, in conversations with the client and in analyzing this for a view shed and you know, coming to the realization that we really, these trees have to go to maintain a view shed. We looked at mitigation opportunities, and again, what we've already presented in terms of shrub and vegetative cover, we look for opportunities to add red species or red maple trees to the plan in areas where it doesn't impose a view shed. So in areas on the, I'm trying to get oriented, that would be the east side of the building, or? East side of the building, thanks, there it is, yeah, west, upside down. The west side of the building, it's blended in here, but we've actually stuck some red maples in here along the shoreline to sort of mitigate, compensatory mitigation for the loss of those trees, to provide more canopy-sized shade trees versus the shrubs that are already going in here that are, 12 to 15 feet in height now. So,
How tall could those trees be?
at maturity, or how big are they now?
No, I'm leaning up to something. How tall can they be? 10 feet,
The one-
12 feet?
Before they interfere.
So what happens is, as you're looking down 495 south towards the end of the building, if they're of any substantial height, 3 feet, 4 feet, if they're sticking up above what is the proposed grading, the first floor elevation of the building, it blocks.
I guess what I was thinking was cut them off the stump, they resprout, and then keep them trimmed.
Yeah, but then
That's
they're gonna be
What is that?
they're gonna be like,
But it would keep them down.
No,
I'd rather put in new.
your thoughts are in the right place, certainly,
Right.
yeah. But I think that once
But,
you
yeah.
cut the terminal bud on any species, then
Yeah,
you get,
just get the little-
it's almost weedy, you'll
Yeah.
get
Come on.
The side
Yeah.
shoots, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
no.
It's useless.
dozens and dozens of plants.
A low shrub might
Yeah, your
be better,
thoughts?
overhanging maybe.
Yeah.
Low shrub.
Oh, I think it was 2 to 1.
Six
Like
additional
what,
maples
multiple
for those
rows?
three.
Yeah. Oh,
How
that's
far
what-
are those gonna be set back from the wetlands?
As-
Your
as
maples
clo-
that you're
As close to the
proposing?
bank as I possibly could. So you have, there's a red maple here. I tried to squeeze them in, basically.
Like right on the
top
back,
of
can they
bank.
set back a little bit? I'm just thinking all the
I can.
leaves and everything and the roots
Oh,
kind of
sure.
like, I wanna make sure it's stable.
Is there a
Um,
preferred distance? Because, we
I-
have a
We're-
10-foot
yeah,
naturalized
we're
buffer,
squeezed
and then we
with
have a
the-
10-foot transition zone, and right now it's about halfway in the middle of the naturalized buffer, so it's about 5 feet from the wetland.
Right.
So you're proposing it on the 5-foot or on the 10-foot?
Right now, they're basically on
Oh, 5 foot, yeah.
We can shift them to the 10.
We can bump them
Amy,
back,
don't you think a
yeah.
little further back?
I think so.
Yeah.
We can certainly.
What dogwoods, how would they
Just
be
red
there?
leaf. Dogwoods, we actually have some dogwoods specced in here. Dogwoods are more of a shrub species, they're not a high canopy species. So
Right,
red
right,
ocean
which is-
dogwood or silky
which I
dogwood,
thought
gray
might be
dogwood.
Good
I
over
think
there.
the dogwoods might get too big over there.
On the
I mean,
new
long-term,
grade.
they don't grow that
Yeah.
fast, but, yeah.
They go broad.
Because
Yeah.
I like them to go broad, because then they'll shade a
Right.
bit. Where you
Yeah,
took out-
this-
right in the location where you took up.
Right.
So what are you proposing to put in here? Just more bushes?
That's gonna be herbaceous. Yeah, this is, well, it has the, again, this is the shoreline treatment for emergent vegetation. It's gonna
Mhm.
have the transitional area, which is a wetland seed mix transitioning to upland wildflower mix.
But where the actual trees are coming out?
Yeah,
So
that's-
this tree is in the naturalized buffer,
Yep.
and these two are in the transition
Okay.
buffer.
Okay.
That's where I was thinking, low bushes
Right.
or small trees.
It's not really, if you look at the match line with this thing, is these three here. Just further down, we've specified some shrubs.
So we're retaining the existing landscape
Right,
maples.
and there are 2 trees in here.
I mean, in the order of conditions, this is gonna be open for a bit. Once it's in and established, I'm assuming that you'd be amenable that if you have an opportunity to add something else, or if something's not going to work, that
We do
we
do
can,
something
we
for
can
this,
amend
yeah.
that, so.
Yeah, and
I
with the
feel as
monitoring
though.
that'll come in,
yeah.
you'll have an opportunity, if things are either failing or things, then
Yeah.
we'll make management recommendations to the commission, but the commission has the
Yeah.
opportunity to afford comment back.
How
So-
about mountain
Exactly.
laurel or rhododendron?
That gives us.
It's a little, those are dry upland soils that
Yeah.
I don't think would fare as well in here. They really require dry
Mm.
site conditions, mountain
Yeah.
laurel. and rhododendron.
I think that's, I'm happy with what we have here, and then
Right.
we'll just monitor it as long as you're amenable to
Yeah.
possible additions.
Right. Yeah, if anything, we can, tuck a few more shrubs in here, and we might be able to squeeze another maple or 2 over here, but it's
Especially
starting
those
to.
that kind of arc over, shrubs that would provide a little shade.
It's not like a willow.
Willow, right.
What about willow?
Whoa, no.
Right.
Those are big.
Yeah. on the bank and.
Willows, yeah, the willows are, they are great shade trees.
They are.
But they can do some damage to the,
Well,
They
the
can
banks
take,
as well. Their roots
exactly.
kind of
Their roots
just burst
spread.
out.
Yeah, no, let's not have the willow discussion.
It would really erode the shoreline a bit. There's pros and cons to willow.
There's pros and cons, I
It should be in a
agree.
wet field somewhere.
They're great for bank stabilization if you have a disturbed bank.
No, I know that.
Trying to
Yeah, willow
hold
cutting,
it in
right, yeah.
place, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we now? What else? Any other, lighting? What'd you learn on lighting?
The fact.
That was behind you, that was lighting. Remember, that was our discussion?
I thought we kind of wrapped it up with the understanding that there was a local a zoning bylaw that
Okay.
dictates the hours that the parking lot can actually be lit. And obviously, it's full LED, full cutoff, downward facing, shoebox.
Right.
Things like that. And then again, part of the discussion about signage lighting, it would be kind of just lighting down lighting the
Yeah, okay.
signage directly at the
Okay,
sign.
because that was the last, is there anything else that was outstanding?
The sign at the intersection.
That's the next one, isn't it, though?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
that's
so
the
let's,
amended
we'll do
order.
that in a minute, yep.
That was really it. We added a call out for the remove the litter and debris in this corner over here, as you
Yeah.
guys had asked last
Right,
time.
yeah,
so just
and we
put a
made
call out
note of
for
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've,
Okay.
I think we're there.
Yeah.
Mostly nickel and dime.
Any questions that you have?
Order conditions type stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to work on
Yeah.
those, yeah.
And I know there was some in the stormwater pollution prevention plan
Right.
you submitted. I think you have some of the old information in there for area, for A2.
Oh,
The
that's-
different
I
count
hadn't
numbers.
looked at the-
They probably just pulled an old version of it.
Yeah, we can,
So it's just- yeah.
finalize that.
Yeah, we can clean up
Yeah.
loose ends on that. You'd asked me some question about the mowing regime and basically, I looked at the Oxbow reports, but I think it's different situation over here than it was on the Oxbow
It
parcel.
probably is, because Oxbow, when they did their initial monitoring at the other place, ran into the problem
Yeah,
where,
that's all.
I think they did the treatment and then it got mowed, so they couldn't tell if the treatment worked or not.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they had that- Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we don't-
they coordinated better the next
Right.
year, so. it's-
But it looked like the species on there, because it's mostly fielded over there, and they mow that entire wet
Right,
meadow
yeah.
almost, and that, it's mostly Phragmites and.
They're doing edge treatments and stuff.
And, right, and
Yeah.
the reed canary grass, which are different than the shrub species. So, you know,
That, and I'd also ask you about the sizing of the,
Oh, I did ask, that was the other thing that you asked, was, we did add sizing to the tree specs. Billy stated, I gave a moderate size for the shrubs, and for all the shrubs have to be 2 to 3 feet minimum size at planting. That prevents them from getting, they sell them in 12 to 18 inch, and the next size up is 2 to 3 inch. You guys get what you pay for. If you pay for smaller plants, the risk of mortality is great.
Yeah.
You end up coming back and doing it twice and spending twice as much
Like
money.
over a third right off the top.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It happens
not
all
worth
the
it.
time. So it's worth spending a little extra money to get head-started plants to make.
What's and your tree?
And the red maple's 3 to 4 feet, so it's another feet when they go in. The red maples respect a bit bigger than the shrubs.
I would just like to know, so if they show up with whips one day, just like, no.
No, you're right, absolutely. It's a detail, and I'm glad you pointed out. Because when this goes to the landscape contractor to execute, it keeps them.
Okay.
I mean, distinctly, you did add the extra hay bale, so it's gonna be, erosion control, so it'll be above and below the restoration area. I saw that on the plans.
I don't think it's on that plan.
Was that on these? this is not a
It's on
detail?
the erosion control plan of the plan set.
Yep.
Okay.
And you did spec that it's all natural materials, but you didn't spec the size of the wattles. Do you want to spec
It's
at
not
least
a-
10 or
It's not a
12?
huge bank. So I would go,
I just wouldn't want to see 8-inch things out there that you can pick up with your little finger, so.
so we're thinking 12? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So are we ready to close this?
And you don't know where the monitoring wells are yet, right? You said in there it'll be outside the 50,
Yeah, we can keep.
but it'll be a lot
But
of.
we don't exactly know where the water department's gonna do it, so we can certainly show that on the plan after, or prior to,
Well, we gotta put them in,
installation.
yeah. And you on the plan showed, so we had 3 or 4 drains, and we're only keeping 2 of them. You showed that the others were being disconnected.
Yep.
And did you want signage, rocks, something along that line, so it's not gonna get mowed? The wetland
Yes, we
area?
talked about that.
So what I would recommend is if we could just make a condition that we pass whatever detail through the
Okay.
commission prior to installation.
Yeah.
We're still trying
So
to
that's
figure out
over in
the
your
signage.
restoration
Right, where
area.
there's
So we'll come up,
backgrounds
we'll
or
come up with
whatever.
something that's kind of user-friendly that people can
Mhm.
peek at but not stomp on.
Yep, so we'll develop
Good.
detail and pass it
Okay.
to.
So if you want to come up with some suggestions, a couple different options, also how that might be presented, how it would look, whether it's a, a stake.
Sign or
Yeah.
bound or
I-
monument or, yeah, there's.
You've been talking about a little fence, weren't you?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we're talking about
No.
removing.
I- I
No.
just want a split rail.
No,
No.
because we want things to kind of move and,
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll
Come up with a couple
something
options.
aesthetically pleasing
right,
that gets
Yep.
the point.
Yep,
across.
exactly.
Right, right.
And I assume you want usual things like pre-submitting the qualifications for the monitor
Yep.
and the wetland person, 3-year monitoring, because I think you saw 2.
Yeah, we can.
In there.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, these were suggestions that we knew were gonna be at the discretion of the commission to condition 2 or 3 year. Basically, they serve as a placeholder for you guys to condition.
Yeah.
So are we at the point, somebody wants to make a motion to close this hearing?
Well, if all those things are pending, is that something, can we close the hearing without those things pending?
I mean, we're really just pending one.
What are things like signage or?
Yeah.
No, that can, because that's going to be order of conditions.
Condition.
They're not going to get their order of conditions until they get that done, so
Until,
they give us signage, so.
okay, so that's not what I heard.
They're going to give us some suggestions
On
on
what
signage.
specific- Oh, we're talking about what
For-
signage?
Here, where you've got your kind of,
I thought I heard they'd submit that before they put it in.
Prior to installation, so that would be.
I think we'd want that in the order of conditions.
The specs for the sign?
The
Yeah.
actual spec for the sign.
I mean,
not-
come up with something
Okay.
generic that you can change a little bit in the end in terms of
Size,
the
distance.
colors, yeah, things like that.
Has that been a discussion at all from last time? About what I know we talked around a couple of ideas, but I don't know if you want to move more on with the discussion. It hasn't been thought out.
Do we do granite posts?
Yeah.
Do we do this, do we give them 10 feet?
I'd even say that's pretty tight.
Yeah, I'd go
That's
further
pretty
apart.
quick.
Yeah, it's gonna look like.
Right, yeah.
Oh, the black chain would be very nice.
But those are, yeah.
It's actually not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
Amy had a really nice
I like
idea.
that idea.
Or green, the
Yeah.
green chain.
Black.
I like Amy's idea.
Bittersweet.
So, hey, Doug,
A little bit above it.
Yeah.
you guys could go further apart, and if you wanted to loop a chain down through or something like that.
It
I mean,
could be
Something that
a
goes with the
feature.
exterior aesthetic of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
Of the building.
Yeah, that's what, you get what you paid for. Whereas, I work with several homeowners and they'll, the cheapest available is just the metal signs that are.
Yeah, no, we don't wanna do that.
So, yeah, like granite monuments are, they're much more aesthetic, they are in line with the aesthetic value of the property that you're looking for. About level with, if the vegetation is 2 or 3 feet, it should be at least, it shouldn't be lower than the vegetation where you can't see it. It effectively doesn't serve a
Right.
purpose. So if you assume that the vegetation is 2 feet, 2.5 feet, 2.5, 3 feet, does that sound?
Mm-hmm. Well,
3 feet sounds
There's a
reasonable.
steel, like a monument marker.
3 feet above the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, above.
Sounds
Above
reasonable.
ground surface.
Yes, 3 feet, yeah.
So, I want to do that 3-foot granite.
And then
pad.
what distance did you determine?
30 feet on the center? 50 feet on the center?
50's gonna be.
Not if you're
third
putting
bar.
it, not if you're putting
Third.
it, not if you're putting a
50's
chain.
too far, no, they're not gonna do a
Yeah,
chain,
no.
so it's just gonna be granite posts, so you'd be more at a 30.
Yeah, 30.
take your distance and split it up.
Vary it?
Yeah.
You know, there may be areas which that brings a good point, that there may be areas of concentration where you might perhaps want them a little closer versus on the front where people,
Right.
It
But
may
there
not
are
have
some
to-
no trespass signs out there, and I think that it's not so much, I mean, it may be the use of the office people, but again, we want this to be determined from trespassers that come
Sure.
on to either look for fishing opportunities on private property or things like that.
And you could also say, no further than every 30 feet. So if they want to put every 5 feet, they could.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
Okay, so less than greater
A
too,
minimum
so,
distance.
yeah.
What's the
yeah.
spacing on no trespassing signs, 50 feet?
God, for the hunting is like 20 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very
It's so close. I mean, the law is very close. But, so just come,
And you're
no,
talking-
no
is
less
there a sign or
than,
no sign?
No more than.
No more than
No
30
more
feet.
than 30.
and no, yeah.
And a sign, no sign?
Are you gonna affix something to the granite, or just drill something in, or are you just gonna?
I don't think every post, but,
or-
we could certainly, it would certainly be affixed, we wouldn't be etching granite.
Right,
To
so
get-
just-
to get verbiage in
Etching
there.
granite.
But I would say we do it, you know, maybe every other, every third
I
post.
think, yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Somewhere in that
Yeah.
neighborhood, we don't wanna over-sign it.
right.
No.
And is this gonna be like a no, what's the sign?
Conservation area, maybe?
The verbiage, did we
They could
scan
even
it?
use, they could use, come up with a disc, just have a nice disc that you could actually read,
Right.
not too wordy, and then that can just
You
get
just
drilled
rip
in.
them off
Yeah.
a turkey farm and stick them on.
Well, I was thinking about the verbiage, that seems pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got cut long.
Because you want something, because you want people to know it's a restoration area, so it may,
But it can't be so wordy that it says,
exactly.
no fishing, no lawn clippings, no
Yeah.
snow storage,
Yeah.
no.
I think it's also just even to state that it's a sensitive area, please, you know,
You just call it
Just as
habitat
a
area.
resource
yeah, habitat area or sensitive
Yeah,
area.
habitat area is good.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Conservation area, no entry, or.
Yeah, restoration or habitat,
Yep.
yeah.
Do not disturb is.
Should we let that float?
Yes, yep. I think the bigger thing is that we know what the
Granite bounds,
constitution
3
of.
feet
Right.
high, no more than 30 feet between them.
Yep.
Every second or third post will fix a sign, and we'll run the sign by you before we.
Yep, I think that's fine. Okay.
I'm glad we hashed that out, and I'm hoping that we can
Yep.
negotiate these at the table and close tonight rather than.
Yeah, no,
continue here
that's,
and
that's fine.
come
I
back
don't
for
think, is there anything
signs.
that would,
I would just wanna make sure that the pollution prevention plan, because that's easy to update, just
Right,
fix
comes in.
that. I don't think it's worth redoing the whole plan set for things like the wattle size, so,
right.
unless
So
you're
they're
reprinting
in
that.
agreeance of 12-inch
Yeah.
models?
That's- yeah,
Yeah. So I'd make are we good for a motion then?
it's administrative.
So we would have to issue the order conditions by January 8th, if you close tonight.
That's fine. Don't you think?
Like January 8th, how are we gonna do that?
I can do it with Amy. I'm around. Get that done. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 119 Russell Street, R18-2-0, Mass DP number 204862, with the conditions discussed tonight.
Right, that's fine.
Do I hear a
Second.
second?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done.
That wasn't too painful, was it?
No, you got us here. Just in time for the holidays.
All right.
Request
I-
for an extension and amended order of conditions for Russell Street.
That's the signage.
Yeah.
So we don't have that.
We'll do that on January 8th.
Uh,
Do you want to do that, or,
That's absolutely, yes, you wanna continue the amended order to January 8th?
I mean, you're not doing anything.
Is that an issue of timing for workers? I know you were aiming for the 31st.
That's just for the signage.
It's just a sign?
Review the sign, get it on the plans and get some finals and, yeah.
Well, I think we know what the sign's ultimately gonna look like in terms of the ground level. It's gonna be, what's that?
I think that, yeah, the
It's-
ground impact.
Yeah,
is
we're,
the
we're
structure.
interested in the bottom, not the top.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's 2 feet 6 inches wide by 3 feet deep times 2. So
Okay.
it'd be about roughly
So,
6 feet apart.
so 2 pads. And then, did we know where that was going to go? Because the question last time was where it was going to go, and what zone was it in? Because we may have,
It's gonna be within the wetlands, it looks like, as indicated on the Green International
Yeah.
Plan from.
yeah.
There's no,
So-
the roadway goes total slope.
With an impact of 12 square feet, we're talking 24 square feet of replication area, which would be the total slope, basically where there's an existing outlet pipe, a drainage pipe,
Right,
if you will,
because
from the road.
it drains right from the road right there.
Right directly into it. So that's the extent of what. the
Because that
sign
does get really wet, doesn't it?
What?
does.
You're putting a sign where it gets really wet.
Yeah. I see it floated down there.
It's flood. It can't be flood.
Extra sign
Yeah,
insurance.
it's floodplain the wrong time of the year.
So I guess the question is, having that information, could it be conditioned such that we give you a little SK and we modify the order tonight?
So the replication area would be right next to it on the bank?
Right next to it, total slope, 2 to 1 minimum.
Is that on state property or town property?
No, it's on Parker's property. So there's a utility pole at the corner of the intersection that lies within an easement on.
Amy, would they have to have,
Alpine.
they'd have to have a plan that would have to have that restoration on it?
I mean, it's very typical to do restoration plans after the fact, specking plantings and, obviously things of that nature.
I mean, we need to be careful too, allowing placement of fill in the wetland
Right.
that passes
I
the
think you'd want it on a plan.
passes a red phase test.
And then that's gonna have the list of the restoration. What do you think, Amy?
I'm a little bit, I'm not, does it pass the public interest test? I mean, that's the, I think that's.
This
one of
is
the
on the
questions.
amended
Getting
order.
snagged on the waiver.
This is on the amended order of condition.
Right, it
Act.
doesn't, it's not within the
subject
new
to local
regs.
bylaw.
But it wasn't, the sign wasn't on the original filing?
We did indicate a sign, it's just, it actually shrunk from what we indicated, and we indicated the location.
Oh, it was on the original? I don't remember.
On the original?
I don't know.
I believe I had it.
If you can pull that out, that would be good, because then it was
That'd
on
be
the,
different.
it was
Well,
on the
it's
original.
entirely up to you if we're an amended notice of intent.
Right. Which we would lean towards, correct? What's the date on
So
it?
this is, this is our latest revision.
Yeah, that's not the one that was approved.
No, the original one that was
Oh.
approved, was it on,
A sign.
was the sign on the original one that was
Under
approved?
the old regs.
There was no sign on the
Right,
original
that's-
final with the
that-
2 buildings. It
With the
was
2
only on
buildings, right.
our plan, Hancock plan,
Yeah.
not the,
That's what we had hoped, we'd hoped that it was on the original one.
no, they did not indicate.
But I
Signage is
think
a part of
you're
the
right.
previous development.
If you agree it's amended notice of intent, then the bylaw does not apply. Still in the old one.
I think we're at such an older filing that I'd be inclined to amend it.
So I guess the only question is, do you want to do it as a condition? Or do you need more information before you can?
So right now, we're showing 36 feet of footprint, and it's gonna be 12 feet per the conversation that we just had. So again, if we could certainly just pass an exhibit plan prior to doing the restoration, which we have to do anyways, involve Amy, so she can oversee it. Dave will obviously oversee that work.
Can make it that the sign goes on first.
Is that?
Get the sign in first and get that done.
And then
I was gonna
have that
ask,
back.
do you know how long out before the sign goes in, or?
We would probably do that.
That's a moving target.
I would say we'd be doing it probably concurrent with restoration, with our naturalization, with our transition zone, because that's gonna be the seasonal time, and we indicated 2019, spring of 2019 on that.
That's what I was driving towards, is the time of year of installation makes a difference. If it is, peak wet season, it does get very wet.
It is very wet, so
It would have more impact.
that could be,
to try to do it
your install
in wet
time could be
season versus
conditioned.
Fall of 18.
Yeah.
Winter time, fall.
Yeah, we
It's
could.
preferable if it needs to be done
I
in the fall.
definitely wouldn't want to do it in the spring.
No, that's, yeah, better.
So it's within the 50
No, it's within.
It's in the wetland.
proper.
In the wetland
It's essentially
proper.
what happens is
That
this
was-
is
right.
sloped down to this general area, and then at the toe of the slope essentially, so just imagine a line right
Well,
here. And
that's the wetland
That's
line?
the start of the wet meadow.
So it's not
Transition.
it's not
down there and
I thought it was back further.
meadow. I mean, it's not in the wetland, but
It
it's.
is in the meadow.
It's in the- yeah.
It's definitely gonna be.
It's a middle wetland right
But that's the
Where's the
area that
wetland
floods,
line?
right?
It basically coincides with the line of the roadway drops to a shoulder of road, and at the toe of that shoulder is where the wetland begins.
Because both
But that
Russell
does
Street and
flood,
Drake
though.
Road
That
are
does
up
flood.
probably
So it's
4
not
feet.
within the
3
wetland
to 4
line.
feet.
It is in the
It is in the wetlands.
I'm confused.
It's
So
gonna be in
there's
the
12
wet
square feet of
meadow.
impact.
There's
Wet
literally
meadows.
no buffer between the edge of the wetland and the slope of the road.
Correct.
What you're hoping for is some good fill with still from the slope.
Yeah, we're gonna carve out a little bit of the toe, and that will be the location area.
It's in the
So you gotta
wetland.
get equipment down in there to build this?
Yeah, what are they building now?
I can imagine, they
I mean, they have to
they just
put
take
concrete.
Well, they're gonna have to get down there. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to get down into the
How
wetlands.
high is it gonna be?
Design?
Yeah, it's kind of high. It's gonna be pretty high, I would think.
Then you take the phone call from Sam when he asks you how.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I-
Right in the center.
I didn't know it was actually in the
Yeah, I mean,
wetland.
I think
Can you pull it back a little bit?
Not-
can't-
not to
It
keep
it is,
on
it's
property.
shoulder of road wetland, there's no place to put it in the shoulder.
Put it in the parking lot. I'd have to put it in the parking lot.
on top of the building.
We already have one on the top of the building.
I don't know, it's in the wetlands. If it was
I
something that was,
just,
if it was something that was on
we just
the
need to be
original.
careful about
Yeah.
what we
Even in the
do.
old regs, we
We
don't
don't
allow
tell
that.
other people they can't do.
Yeah, no.
Where's the plane sign across the street, is that Upland?
Oh, yeah.
Stuck there, so they're high and dry.
Yeah, definitely.
They're solid, no.
Yeah, I think we'll have to table this discussion, you might have to rethink some other alternatives.
I agree.
Yeah.
At
So
this
what we-
point.
Is this
what we had
like a really
discussed-
tall sign? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's gonna,
It's
think
gotta
about
be-
the,
it's
think
gotta
about
be
the point
small.
sign, and that's essentially what we're trying to do, we're trying to narrow it down.
Yeah.
Point
So
sign
what
is
I heard these guys say 14 height, I think that,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be quite as high as the.
But it gives you an idea what
It's concept.
So it's not the final, but that's the idea, and that looks not unlike the point.
It's right here.
Right there. Exactly, just obviously trying to limit the footprint of the area, again, topography, lot shape, where the right of way is, all are restricted.
You're gonna talk about
factors.
access for maintenance of it, access for install.
It would be temporary for install, but I don't think you don't maintain it.
Is it gonna be lit?
It would be lit, yeah.
You gotta
So
change the
that
light
means
bulb.
it's gonna be cabling or something running to it.
So
The
there's more,
telephone
so there's
pole.
more than just, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's a structure, and it's a structure in the wetlands,
Yeah,
is what it is.
I think you should, with due regard, listen to what we're telling you.
Okay, so what I had suggested last meeting was to be able to modify the order and then come back for a minor modification on the sign.
Yeah, but see, that wasn't in the original filing. So had it been in the original filing,
Are we talking about the 2014 filing or this filing?
the original.
The 2014.
14.
So, again, we're modifying the 2014.
Yeah, but you're working in the wetlands.
Yeah.
And there's no way something like this could be done on Hill Appeals or anything like that, it just doesn't have the support.
We can start to look at those items, which is why
Because
I'm
usually Hill Appeals are
suggesting.
not considered Hill.
Which is why I'm suggesting that we be able to just come back for a minor modification exclusive to this sign and not have it part of the modification that we're doing right now.
I think it depends.
Yes, it depends.
What, helicals or?
Hill Appeals
I was trying to
can be
understand what
considered
Hill
not
Appeals.
Hill.
Yeah.
I think we need more data, more information.
All right, I can't, yeah, I can't.
Yeah. All right, Chairman.
I guess we're gonna move on.
Okay.
So I'm being told that we can try to have the details for the agenda, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
To the hospital.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you. You guys as well.
Thank you all very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Did we go all through this?
Did you bring print plans for the, there's a print plan?
Okay,
And this is the latest revised, even following the one that I sent you electronically on Friday. These were updated to have the.
Thanks. Happy holidays.
Thank
Thank
you.
you too.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, perfect, okay, all right.
We can be
Right,
voting.
I think
I
the
might
other
need
thing
to
is
scoot.
probably just like
Are we voting?
the verbiage and this order, which we've read.
Right, this one,
He's
yeah,
the thing,
this one.
yeah.
Hang out for, just hang out for a second. So,
I'd like to have just a brief discussion about something that's come up.
okay,
Wait,
because
what?
Carl's got to scoot. So.
Yeah,
Oh,
Froberg, is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you just said you joined the conservation.
No,
Commission.
no,
It's like-
at a Christmas party
You did what?
last Friday. Yeah, no, I remember.
what has come up,
That's great.
Yeah, my wife's a high school teacher in Wayland, so
Just go ahead.
the
She
Wayland
doesn't.
Science
Yeah.
Center.
what has come up with,
Happy holidays.
at least with Church Meadows, it seems as though the CRs and stuff that was supposed to have been put on some of these things have fallen through the cracks. And it's been on some of the other stuff we have. There's been stuff that's just hasn't been done.
Right.
And I was thinking on the way down here that maybe we should have some sort of a crib sheet or something when we discuss doing these CRs, or something that kind of that we can work off of, or Amy can work off of. And maybe also when you get land donations that are proposed, that it's kind of just kept on some sort of a crib sheet, so we go back to it periodically to keep on top of it.
So the guide?
Yeah,
Got
just
the
something
CRs.
that, because
I've easily put in 80 hours on pulling these conservation restrictions together.
Yeah, I think it's
And
hard
that's-
because there
that's
should be
without
some other partnering between whether it's the assessors or someone, that when someone or building, when they pull a permit, is like, it should at least have a box on it, like, is there a restriction on your lot? So, Roland has all those, different checklists. If there's a way that you could do that, it's like, is there wetlands? It's like, oh, well, also, is there a restriction?
Yep.
yeah.
So that at least kind of, it fosters the discussion, and that way, if
Yeah,
an
right,
owner,
all sorts of surprise ones.
yeah, if an owner comes in and,
Yeah.
isn't faithful and says, oh, yeah, no, there's no CR, and then they build, this was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, but they are, it's in their deed. So we do have to kind of discuss that.
But that's, I think there's 2 or 3 of those items out there. One is Reed Meadows, they've come in and talked about, never presented anything that I know of.
I believe Three Meadows is down at the OAS. I think that's done.
Okay. I did come up with the one for Kimlock Farm. I didn't realize that had been done.
Yeah, Steve sent that to me.
Yeah.
I think that there should be some stopgap, there has to be some incentive, either they can't pull a building permit, or they can't get a certificate of insurance or something. I'm not in insurance, but
Just-
you know what I mean. There needs to be something else in there.
Is there something like that can be flagged in with, when they go
That's-
for like a building permit?
That's where I would start to see if we could do that.
Yeah,
And,
because also for a building permit, you can pre-flag a property. Like Shelley will, let me know, but of course, some of these CRs are in uplands.
it's also
So she wouldn't think to
assessors
send
too.
me a notice.
Yeah.
I think it would be assessors as well. It would be nice, because that's really, it should be on there.
But if if a flag can be put onto any deed that has a CR, that
Right.
even if it's not, like as you said, even if it's not that's something that would come to us because it's got wetlands, but
Yep.
that when they go in front of some sort of
But it
planning
also,
board,
I think,
building
should,
board, that
a
there's gonna be
notation should be made that if it went to the land trust,
Yep.
that just somehow, paper trail.
Just in a deed search.
Yeah, but
We'll see you on Friday, Carl.
The lands, you
All right,
get
I would like to adjourn
restrictions.
this meeting at 9:55.
Get flagged with a bang.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, shut it off.
There we